The following podcast is recommended for mature audiences only. The following podcast is recommended for adults only. Maturity is not a requirement.
Hello and welcome to episode 57 of Dear Download, a podcast where we get to share our most intimate and treasured memories of Download Festival. We'll talk about each year, the bands we saw, the bands we missed, and everything else noteworthy that happened across the weekend. Also, we'll touch upon any news, other festivals, and the music industry past, present and future. This episode we are talking about bands that turned 20 this year. So, albums that turned 20 this year. So albums that were released in 2003, and we have a considerable amount more than we did last episode. And we had 8 for 30 years old ones, so we've got 22 or 23 albums. This was an insane year for albums. I'm Adam, and as always, I'm here with Simon. How you doing, man?
Hello! How you doing?
Good. I'm still fucked. You might be able to hear it again already, but yeah, my voice is fucked. I'm still ill.
Is this the third episode now that you've been in a row, or is it 2?
Second.
Second.
It's almost 4 weeks. So it was a Friday I first started feeling rough, and it will be 4 weeks this Friday. I don't feel too bad anymore. It's just my throat it's just got a real tickly cough, and it sucks. Yeah. It really sucks.
Annoying. Well, Adam is a trooper as always, so he is continuing to do the podcast. Like you said, we got a ton of albums to talk about today, loads. Some of them we'll talk about briefly, some of them we'll talk about in more detail, but we will fly through them, and we're excited about this one because as Ad said, this was a very good year for albums. Wowza. Yeah. I mean, I went downstairs and counted how many of the 22 that I have on CD. It turns out I have 15 of the 22.
Jesus, I was going to do that.
So I would have bought 15 of these albums at the time and listened to loads of them after or whatever. But yeah, I had a lot of these on CD. I'll tell you which ones, I guess, as we go through. But,
I'm going to have a quick count of which ones I had too. 1, 2.
Well, I got the CD collection out downstairs, 4. So I just went down and went, is that there? Yeah, that's there. That's there. 7.
Did I buy Saint Anger? I don't think I did. How did I listen to Saint Anger in 2003?
I hope you didn't waste your money on that. I certainly didn't. That's definitely not one that I bought.
10, 11, 12.
Sorry, Alexander. I know he said to me in the comments in the Discord, like, hey, man, come on, you got to listen to Saint Anger. I was like, no, I don't. I already know how I feel about it.
It turns out I would own like 13 of them.
Oh, that's loads.
It's loads, absolutely loads. Yeah.
Back in the day, dude, to buy like 13 CDs that came out in 1 year means it was there would be some years where I would buy that many, and then there'd be other years where I would buy like 2 or 3. So to buy that many CDs, even if you didn't buy them at the time, but still from that year, that's a lot of CDs to buy from 2003.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I bought all of mine in 2003 because some of these, I mean, I can give. There'll be some that people already know. So things like Meteora, I bought straight away, and there's some others that I was surprised that came out the same year as Meteora, probably because I owned them much later. All of them are from 2003, and it's insane, just
insane. It's a fucking crazy year, man. Wicked. I can't wait to talk about these. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So really quickly, how have you been? How's the last 2 weeks been?
Yeah, really good. Cool. Busy at work, driving all everywhere. I've been in Reading a lot this week. I mean, you don't really go to Reading unless you absolutely have to. But I had to go there for work. Not really doing much. I mean, no one can see this, but you will see this in my videos. I'm sure my video will be out by this time. I have cut all of my hair off. So now I have spiky hair, and it's very strange but nice at the same time. So I'm excited about it, but it was crazy. It's so much hair like on the floor. Like I took a picture. I'll send you the picture. There was so much hair. Like awesome. I didn't realize how long my hair was until he started chopping it off. And it literally took him about half an hour just to get rid of the hair to actually start like styling and cutting and trimming and all that stuff. So yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. Well, like you said, you obviously can't see this. It does look good. The first thing I thought of was, on online when you see a picture that says like if the tech metal guitarist looks like this, you are about to die, and that's what Simon now looks like.
Do you know what I think though? I think these without the glasses, he doesn't look as nerdy. But when I put the glasses on, I look like a real nerd.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, feeling it.
Really
I like it.
Awesome. I'm good, thank you.
Well, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I thought you were going to move on to something else.
Simon's mic.
Am I done? Is that me? Okay, I'm done.
Cut out then.
Oh, my mic cut out. No, I really do want to know how Adam's been. How have you been, mate? How have you been?
Yeah, no. Generally, I've been all right. I was still feeling pretty rough for about a week after last time we recorded. And now for the last week, like I said, my throat is still fucked up, but I don't feel too ill anymore. Just I'm coughing fucking loads. I've never had a cold last this. I think it's a cold anyway, but I've never had one that lasts this long. Kelly's had a few. There's one that she had lasted like 6 months, I think, and I think it was it was just before the pandemic as well. So when all the symptoms and the information came out, people were like, "You got COVID?" I was like, "No, I've had this for a lot longer. I've had this for longer than COVID's existed." But
it's a long cold, man.
Yeah, I actually had to cancel a murder mystery night because of it.
Oh,
I just before COVID, I started running murder mysteries for some friends, and I thought I was going to do like 3 a year. I found a really cool website that you can get them from. The first one was just a typical 1920s one. The second one I found was a superhero murder mystery, and it was really cool. Yeah, and like
nice.
It's not just who killed the person who's been murdered. Like some characters will have items on them. They'll all have items on them. Some have money. Some people are trying to earn loads of money to do certain things, so they're trying to like steal the money off other people. I think one person had a blue banana, which is an actual thing. But then one of the other superheroes, the blue banana was his kryptonite. So if he found out the other person had a blue banana, he'd be like, "Stay away from me with that." So yeah, it was really cool. loads of little cool things with it. But yeah, because Kelly was coughing, like I think one of the people invited was pregnant, and she was like, "Oh, I don't want to risk it just in case it is COVID," because there was no information about it at that point. But yeah, gutted. I was so enjoying doing those murder mysteries.
It sounds awesome, man.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Now who's the nerdy one?
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Nerd alert. Nerd alert.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, the website was really cool, and it was only 20 quid. And obviously you could print all the things out and give people the handouts and their items. But like £20 for one night's, like a full night's entertainment. And they had loads and loads of different scenarios on there as well. Like there was a Wild West one. There was all sorts of different sort of genres as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. I've not done one since because of the bloody COVID pandemic. It sucked. But yes. Sorry, that was a bit of a sidetrack already. I am okay though. I'm fine. We have lots and lots of albums to talk about. Do we have any news or new releases to talk about?
No, we there's no time. Let's just go.
I didn't think so.
Let's just pile into the subject. Obviously, we're talking about the year 2003, which seemed like it was only yesterday, but apparently it was 20 years ago, which is absolutely insane. How time flies. So yeah, Pop Culture Rewind. It was the first year of the congestion charge in London, which is an interesting one. So, well, for us Londoners anyway, because it was everyone who had a car at that point was like, "Oh, really? Now you're going to charge me to go into certain parts of London? This is ridiculous." Depressing note, the Iraq War began in 2003. If you remember, I remember that being covered really heavily at the time on the news and stuff.
Yeah.
The book Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix was released. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
England won the Rugby World Cup, if everyone remembers that. The famous drop goal at the end, which is a classic sport moment.
Oh, who was that? Johnny something? Was it Johnny?
Yeah, Johnny Wilkinson.
Johnny Wilkinson. I can't remember. Can't believe I remember that because I don't like rugby.
Well, Well done, mate. But it's a classic. It's a classic moment. It's great.
Yeah.
England are doing really well in the World Cup at the moment, which I'm happy about. It was the year Buffy the Vampire Slayer aired for the last time, which I can't believe it was that long ago, which is insane. This is an interesting one. Apple iTunes launched in 2003.
Huh.
So
Awesome.
that long ago. And finally, Cristiano Ronaldo made his debut for Manchester United.
Nice.
So some interesting stuff there. And films, it was a good year for films as well. Just a brief overview of some films. The Matrix Revolutions came out. Love Actually. Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl.
The first
What
one.
were you going to say?
Nice. What was that? The second Matrix Revelations, or the third one?
No, that's the third one.
Third one. Okay.
Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King came out in
Nice.
2003, which is a good film.
Yeah.
Ending's too long, but it's still a great film. Bad Boys 2, which was a great one. Bruce Almighty, Too Fast, Too Furious. That's right. Only the second
Good.
Fast and Furious
Good film.
It is good. It is good. It's very dated, though. It's very, very dated, but it's still good.
Yeah.
Kill Bill. And finally, the piece of trash that I went to the cinema to see, unfortunately, and paid my hard-earned money for, Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines.
Is that the one with what's his name? Is it Williamson or could be Wilkinson again? What's the main guy in that? No, hang on. That's the woman. I'm thinking of Terminator Genesis, where they're actually go to.
Oh God, no! Let's not talk about Genesis.
I think I quite like that
awful.
one. Hello, what are you doing?
Genesis.
Was it?
What, you liked Genesis or Rise Against the Machines?
I need to look it up. Salvation, Sam Worthington.
Oh, I love that
I
film.
quite like that one. Yeah.
That's I don't know why that film gets so much like shit, because I thought that Salvation was great.
Yeah.
I thought that they miscast Thingy as John Connor. I don't think that bit of the film was right, but I do think the actual movie itself, with Sam Worthington being the hybrid Terminator, was really good. Loved that film.
Yeah.
Thought it was great. But yeah, Rise Against the Machines was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Terminator Genesis is legitimately possibly one of the worst things I've ever watched. So don't watch that one.
All right.
It's terrible.
Bye-bye. Good night. Good night. Oh, you got it. Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, 2003, some interesting things happened.
Yeah. We didn't do this one for the last one because we were probably a bit too young, but what were you doing in 2003?
I remember I dyed my hair blonde in 2003. I had like hair like this, like short spiky hair, but I dyed it blonde because I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Well,
and then it grew out and it looked like I had frosted tips.
Chester
which was pretty
Bennington.
Cool. Oh, it was pure Chester.
Yeah.
Everything Chester done, I done. He got the piercing in the middle. I got the piercing in the middle. He shaved his head. I shaved my head.
Yeah.
He dyed his hair blonde. I dyed my hair blonde. He got a red mohawk. I got a red mohawk. I basically just done anything that Chester done.
Nice.
I copied completely. What a nerd.
Awesome. I was. It was my first year of college in 2003.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I just sort of finished school, first year of college, and I like I said earlier, I remember. Well, I was doing IT because I wanted to do psychology, but I didn't have enough GCSEs, so I was like, I'll do IT to get enough. But I remember Meteora coming out, and I remember Saint Anger coming out. Meteora, I remember sitting at we had a computer in the kitchen in my house. I'm pretty sure it was still dial-up at that point.
Oh, in
in
2003, you definitely would have had. You would have had to pay a lot of money if you would have like the proper broadband.
Yeah.
Definitely would have had dial-up.
Talking on MSN Messenger at that PC.
Yeah. All I remember is the beer emoji. We used to be like, yeah, come on, we're going to go out. Where are we going? The park. And then everyone would just send the beer emoji. And then we'd all go to the park and meet each other.
Awesome. Okay.
Classic.
What should we talk about first? Yeah, I think
Should we start with Meteora?
Yeah.
Because you just mentioned it. Should we start? We start
Okay.
at I'd probably say the biggest metal-infused selling album of that year. I mean, it went gold within like fucking weeks of coming out because people were anticipating it so much. So you had a re-listen of it, didn't you?
Yes, today. Only just today.
What were your overall thoughts on the album? Like, how long has it been since you've listened to it in its entirety?
Probably many years now. And do you know what? I don't think it holds up the way Hybrid Theory holds up. I hadn't thought of that until you just asked me. But Yeah, I didn't have the same nostalgia with Meteora. I mean, it's still good, but some of the songs, they're obviously part of the album, and you listen to them and they sound good. But yeah, some of the songs just sort of drag on a bit now.
Yeah, I think I always call this one, it's like the ugly cousin of Hybrid Theory. Like, it's a really good album. Like, it's a solid, good, like, second album from a band that had like a huge opening. I wasn't disappointed with it at the time.
Yeah.
And listening to it again, I still think it's a really good album, but it just doesn't reach the highs that Hybrid Theory reached. Although I will say, for this album, Hybrid Theory feels more like songs they wrote over a long time that are stuck together, and this one feels like an album they wrote at the same time.
Okay.
I would say that's the only difference I noticed on this re-listen of Meteora. Like, it feels more like an album that was written where the song... I know some of the songs, like Breaking the Habit, he was writing for a long time, but the most of the album, it feels like it was all written, within the same sessions. I know they wrote a lot of this album while they were on tour, touring Hybrid Theory.
Yeah.
So they made a lot of this in the back of their like tour van or tour bus. It was fucking huge.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing on the DVD extras of Party at the Pancake Festival, it had them making Somewhere I Belong in the back of their tour bus.
I never knew that.
So yeah, they'd done the demos. Obviously didn't record the album, but they'd done all the demos on the back of the bus. So it was all written while they were on tour. But yeah, I think it feels more like an album written all at once rather than Hybrid Theory feels like songs all stuck together, but the songs are better.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you have any notes on this one?
Not really, no.
To read off.
But I was just looking.
Should I just go on?
Because when I was listening to it, I was curious how long we were waiting from Hybrid Theory, because that was massive as soon as it released, wasn't it? Like, everyone had it. And I think it was 3 years we waited.
Yeah.
And so the anticipation would have been massive as well. I'm not sure
it was
how much
huge
in advance they actually announced that they were releasing it. I feel like it might have been announced very, very shortly before the album actually released, but I can't remember.
And it was a while because they played Faint live at an MTV show that was recorded for MTV before Meteora came out.
Okay.
And that, even though that wasn't the first single, because Somewhere I Belong was, they played Faint at this MTV show and they put that out. And I remember listening to that thinking, that's a sick tune. Like, I can't wait for the new album. That is awesome. But they didn't. They ended up releasing that later down the line, and they released Somewhere I Belong first. But yeah, it was a while. But I bought this the day it came out. I was like, I went to the shop. I was like, I have to get this album right now.
Yeah.
I remember I saved my money. I was like, yeah, buy my Euro right now. And I got the thick cardboard version, which had the free DVD with it, which had the making of on it.
I don't know which one I've got. It might be that one as well.
Yeah, because I remember watching the making of and thinking, this is really cool that a band like actually put a DVD with like the making of the album on it. I thought that was so cool. I watched that DVD so many times.
Yeah.
Because I was like, it's so cool to see them talking about the songs and like, this is the sort of stuff we take for granted now with YouTube and the internet and stuff. But back then, if a band had like special features on their DVD, that was like a big deal because you were like, I can actually watch stuff to do with the album and get more like insight apart from reading like magazines like obviously Kerrang, Rock Sound and Metal Hammer and shit. But I thought that was awesome. Should I go through what I've written?
Go for it.
So I've written, I love almost everything about this album. It's packed full of great songs. Although I prefer Hybrid Theory, this is still a fantastic follow-up. Don't Stay is a great opener and sets the tone for the album. And then it's full of other classic songs. Obviously, Somewhere I Belong, I think still is a really, really great track. Lying From You's awesome with its like hip-hop sort of vibe. Faint's obviously amazing. Yeah. Breaking the Habit's a classic. Yeah. From the Inside and Numb. It does have a lot of high points. I just don't think it's as good an album as Hybrid Theory is. I will say, though, there's one track on this album that I've never liked.
Okay.
And I still don't like this track now. It might be the only Linkin Park song that I find annoying.
Right.
And it's the track Easier to Run.
Oh, I like that one.
I never liked that song and I still don't. I don't know why, but skip every time.
Yeah. Interesting.
If I listen to this album, Easier to Run, skip. Listen to the whole rest of the album.
Yeah.
I just don't like that vocal part.
Yeah.
Like, for someone who writes like lyrically and vocally so many good hooks, I just think it's really annoying.
Yeah.
And now we've learned from the songs that they've released off this, when it was 20 years, there were better songs that they made that didn't go on the album. And they put Easier to Run on there instead. So that's even more annoying now that I know they made better songs that could have gone on instead of Easier to Run.
Yeah. But I think I remember Mike Shinoda saying about Lost. It basically had the same feel as Faint, I think. And they only had Faint on, so there might have been other reasons for the other ones to not go on. Like, Easier to Run is fine. Much different, very much different to the other songs, so maybe that's why it was on there. I quite like it though.
True. I like it musically.
Yeah.
I just don't like the vocal hook at all. I just don't like that. But but overall, I still on re-listen think it's a really good album, and a lot of bands have that second album syndrome.
Yeah.
They did not have that because obviously this is a really good album, great follow up to a historic album. So yeah, cool. It was nice to. I've listened to the singles and stuff, but I haven't listened to the whole album in quite a while. I'd say probably 5 or 6 years, at least. This album is not the first Linkin Park album I go to stick on. I stick on a lot of the others over this.
Yeah,
one.
I think so too. But I think it's because of what you said. It's so similar to Hybrid Theory, but just not quite as good. So if you're going to listen to one of them, it'll be Hybrid Theory to get that feel.
Which is why they said that Minutes to Midnight is so vastly different to Meteora and Hybrid Theory, because they didn't want to do a part 3.
Right.
Because I remember Mike Shinoda saying that their sound's so easy to replicate. They're just doing the same things over and over again. And they wanted to mess around and try new stuff. So, and I think that Minutes to Midnight is a far better album than Meteora is. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in today's world, that would have been fine though, because like you just reeled off like what 5 or 6 singles from Meteora, and that's what you want for playing live. People don't listen to the albums anymore.
I saw them on this tour at Wembley. It was great. They had Lost Prophets as the main support.
Did they? I was going to bring them up,
but
later.
They just released Start Something, and I don't care what you say about Lost Prophets. That is an awful, terrible thing. But that Start Something album is fucking great.
Yeah,
both their first albums are brilliant.
I don't know it really.
It's unfortunate that no one wants to listen to them anymore, and it's understandable. It's just a shame because it's a really good album.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll move on. Yeah. But Hybrid Theory. Does Meteora get a thumbs up from you then?
Absolutely. Almost all of these albums do.
Okay, wicked. You pick the next one, bro.
Okay. Well, we started on with the highest. Shall we go for the lowest? Shall we talk about the elephant in the room?
Should we get it out of the way now so we can move on with our lives?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't have to talk about this fucking
typo
album.
negative.
Don't make me fly off the handles, boy.
No, it's a kidding joke. No.
Come on, man.
Oh, I didn't. Saint Anger. Stanger. I don't know.
Stanger. Oh, God.
I didn't hate Stanger. Am I being weird and not unique by saying Stanger? I bet people have made that joke before.
People can feel. Some people love this album. Other people are like, they just don't care about it. They're just mild to it.
Yeah.
I actively don't like this album.
Okay.
And do you want to know the main reason why?
Go on.
Because it was such a disappointment at the time for me.
I bet.
It was a real letdown.
Yeah.
Real. Probably one of the most I feel like I've ever been let down by being anticipating an album and then an album coming out, listening to it and just being like, oh, God, what on earth have they done? So, yeah, tell me about your listen. What did you think?
No,
did anything stand out?
Just on what you just said, what was their album before this? Would it have been Reload?
Yeah, they'd released, they released like live stuff, like St. Anger had came out, Garage Inc. had came out, but Reload was the actual proper album that they'd released since this. So it was a long time because, Reload was 96?
Again, I was going to look that up to see how long we were waiting.
95 or 96, Reload was?
97. So that was 6 years between those two.
Sorry, 97, yeah.
I can understand people's anger.
Hey! People's
it was obviously different for me listening to it 20 years later. So this was the first time I ever listened to it. I know I said before, I listened to it. Well, I listened to the first 3 songs in college. Went nah, and I've never ever listened to it since. And I didn't hate it. What I thought musically, it's quite good, but it's like they didn't gel very well. They were all writing maybe separately. I don't know. Like a lot of the songs, the guitars were really good, and the singing was really good, but they just didn't work together.
Yeah, it's just there's something off about it. And obviously we know now with the movie Some Kind of Monster, there was a lot of turmoil going on in the band. You know, Jason had left. They got Trujillo in. They got, they'd been arguing. Hetfield had been in rehab and back out, and it had just been a whole bit of turmoil right in it. So I can understand that it wasn't anyway going to turn out to be the best album. I mean, if they would have just played standard Metallica songs, I don't think it would have ended up being anything great necessarily. I don't mind the song St. Anger.
Yeah.
I sing along to it, and I quite like that song.
Yeah.
I think because I sort of taught myself to love it because it was being played on Kerrang and that so much. But I don't think there are any other redeeming features on the album. I don't think, personally. And I've said it a million times, but I'll say it again. As soon as James Hetfield started frantic talking, I was out. I was there. I think, do you know what? I think that's my main thing with this album is, the music's okay. The drum sound is god awful.
Oh, yeah,
I don't know how they listened to that in the studio through studio speakers and said, we're not going to EQ that snare any different because that snare sounds perfect.
Yeah.
So God knows how they got to that stage because it really does sound like pots and pans. That's off-putting because with Metallica, you want a nice fat fucking drum sound. You know, on some albums, snare, Lars's snare sounds just nice. It's got nice drum, kick sounds good. It's all EQ'd properly. So it's just such a weird way to go. And I can see what they were trying to do. At this time, nu metal was a big influence.
Yeah.
And I know at this point, nu metal was dying on its arse. But that's the sort of direction they were going in because those were the bands that they played all their shows with and they were around. So.
And when they were writing it, it wouldn't have been dying. It would have been writing it.
No, it was like the height.
Yeah.
2001-2 was like the heights of nu metal.
Yeah.
So I can see why they went this way. It doesn't work for me on any level. Like it doesn't bite me. It doesn't grab my attention. The lyrics are just almost unforgivably bad.
Yeah.
They're just
that's
really bad.
That's what I got about the first song, Frantic. It's got lots of changes throughout it, and I didn't mind that. And I did wonder if it's because I listened to Dream Theater earlier that day, which has got lots of changes and it's going backwards and forwards.
Yeah,
like different,
very proggy.
Yeah. And I'm like, would it have been different if I hadn't listened to Dream Theater earlier? But yeah, if the lyrics were better, it would be an infinitely better song. I like the changes. Oh no, I've already said about that. But yeah, like the whole tick 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 tack tock. Like why? I don't understand that. Like he went for that. It wasn't just like the melody of it as well, and I think it's like staccato. It's like tick 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 tick. And you've said before, like just before this album, they released "I Disappear," which was completely different. It was like hey hey hey, all one sound.
That is a fucking amazing Metallica song.
Yeah.
And they done on S&M. They done they had new tracks on S&M that they played live with the orchestra. Like No Leaf Clover, it's probably one of the best Metallica songs, and they just recorded it and wrote it for S&M. If they continued writing songs like that and I Disappear, it could have been a really good album. But I can see what they were trying to do and the reasons why they were trying to do it.
Yeah.
But I just think it just failed. I think listen, I'm all for bands trying new shit. And they'll admit this as much as the next person, that they'll admit that it's not their best album. But they tried something, it didn't work.
Yeah.
They tried it, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Believe me, things would get a lot worse in the future with albums like Lulu, which are infinitely worse than this album. So I'd rather be strapped to a chair and having to listen to St. Anger 1,000 times than being strapped to a chair and listen to Lulu once all the way through. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, well, St. Anger, the song I've written, it starts like a Limp Bizkit song, like with the sound and the riff, but it's too long. Some Kind of Monster has a really cool start. That's all I've got for that.
Yeah, that has some beefy riffs in it.
Yeah. Invisible Kid, I quite liked the start of Invisible Kid. It sounds very Offspringy, I think, but it goes weird. It should be a 4-minute song, not an 8-minute song. and then I've got maybe it's a shower, not a grower. We spoke about that earlier about stuff growing on you. I felt familiar with this, like first time listening. Whether I was concentrating a lot more because I knew this was going to be a big talk because it was my first time listening to it in 20 years. Maybe I was concentrating more, but like I could see how it would get boring after a few listens as well. It was like all new to me. It was all interesting, even if it wasn't very good. But what would I think listening to it for the fourth or fifth time? You know, I could see how it would just get boring to people.
Yeah, I don't hate this album almost as much as I used to. I've kind of gotten over it a little bit now, but yeah, they tried something, and for me, it just didn't work.
Yeah.
It didn't work at all.
Yeah, I got a few more from the so I was writing down what my thoughts of each song was as well, going through it. I got fucking loads for this one. I don't know, not much for anything else. But yeah,
Crack
My
on.
World, nothing spectacular. Again, individually good parts, but I was getting tired of listening to the separate parts, like thinking, oh, that guitar's good, but those lyrics or the melody of the lyrics don't really go with it. I was just like, I just want to listen to an album. I don't want to be like analysing it anymore or listening.
And then
to
you were
the good
shouting,
parts.
Kelly, can you shut up bashing those pots and pans? Oh, sorry, it's just the drum sound. Oh yeah.
Shoot Me Again. Again, guitar parts were very much at the time. They sound new metal. Sounded a bit like Spine Shank in some places, I thought, that one. And then Sweet Amber, I think I liked, did I? Yeah. Sweet Amber, again, kind of cool song. At first it sounded a bit like the I Disappear. I thought it did have a bit of that like sound and the longer notes. But then he goes back to the short, sharp, I don't know why. Why did he do that? Like, that could have been a good
He's
song.
trying to.
But yeah, it was an interesting first listen. I don't know if I would give it a second listen.
No, I'll give it that. It's an interesting album because it's an interesting topic of conversation between Metallica fans and non-Metallica fans. So it's always an interesting album to talk about, whether you love it or hate it. So, yeah. I'm glad that you finally, stuck on the headphones and listened to it all the way through.
I said ages ago I was going to listen to this, and I never did. So I have, and I wanted to give it a good listen for the first time.
Good.
I think that's all of my notes for that one. What do you want to talk about next?
Well, you just said Typo Negative, trying to diss him. So let's talk about Typo Negative, Life is Killing Me. Now, we listened to a Typo album last week, on last episode, and Adam wasn't thrilled by it because it was quite depressing. This one is definitely more upbeat than that one was. But did you listen, and what did you think?
Not really. I didn't really listen. No. I think I listened to the first couple of songs, couldn't get into it, knowing I had loads of albums to listen to. I was like, right, let's listen to something different, get myself into it, and I never ended up going back to it.
Okay. Well, you said that you knew the song I Don't Want to Be Me.
Yeah.
You said, and that's a big, big tune.
Yeah,
I'll run through my notes, and then we can chat a little bit more about it. So I've put this album has a really good feel and some really great songs. I Don't Want to Be Me is obviously an absolute banger with a catchy chorus. Just great guitars, brilliant. Todd's Good Ship is fantastic. I Like Goils or Girls is a good punk style track with Peter's like woo howling vocals, which is great. Life is Killing Me has a great slow sludginess to it with a really nice synth-led riff. And Angry Itch has a load of Misfits influence, which they do throughout their albums. I think it's a really good Typo Negative album. It's probably my third favourite Typo album, I would say. It's definitely more... Although the songs sound like they're more positive, it was all about his parents' death. So both his parents died in quite quick succession, which are basically what all the songs are about. Weirdly, in the song I Don't Want to Be Me, he predicted his own death.
Really?
Yeah, he says, without warning, heart attack. And that's exactly how he died.
Yeah. Bloody hell.
Which is, and he talks about the funeral and everything in that song, which is really, really creepy when you listen back to it now and you think, wow, he, without warning, heart attack, and that's exactly how he died, which is actually pretty crazy. I know it was quite a long time before, but still, as a Typo fan and a big Peter Steele fan, it's like, whoa, that's really creepy.
Yeah.
But I think overall this is a really good album. Really good. Really worth a listen. Obviously, if you like Typo, or if you like slow, sludgy goth metal, I think it's awesome.
I don't think I like slow, sludgy goth metal. looking at the track
Good.
listings, I think I got a bit further than just the 2 songs, actually. I'll probably move about halfway through. But yeah, I didn't enjoy it. I couldn't really concentrate much on it because I wasn't enjoying it.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair enough. Okay, we shall move on to the next album, which Adam will pick.
Oh, okay. Let's go back to my notes. Where are my notes? Let's go Chimera, The Impossibility of Reason.
Oh, baby. Okay, first of all, are you a Chimera fan, or have you listened to them before, or is this your first time listening to like a whole album?
This
Chimera?
was my first time listening to an album. I had liked their singles, the singles that they put out. I've said this about a few bands recently. Just I did like the singles, but I knew it wasn't my kind of thing enough to want to buy the album. So I never really listened to an album. But I do know loads of people who had this album, loved them.
Yeah,
I think it was
a big
around
album.
the same time. It was Chimera, Hatebreed, a few others. Yeah, massive at the time.
2003 was like when metalcore and metal really started to take off out of the sort of wounds of new metal. So
Yeah.
it was perfect timing, really.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't really have much to say. I don't have any actual notes. I did enjoy it, but I can't actually pick out any song names.
That's
or
all right.
tracks
I
from
have
that.
plenty of notes to go through, so I'll go through mine,
Awesome.
and then you can stop me if you want to say something, dude.
Yeah.
So
cool.
I've just put Chimera, Impossibility of Reason. I've just put this album is non-stop, thunderous vocals, drums, and guitars. The opening track, Cleansation, is pure brutality. Mark's guttural vocals are just unreal, literally, like crazy. Pictures in a Gold Room feels like a callback to the first album with its like weird, haunting, screechy samples and then like subtle chorus vocals, like half singing sort of vocals. The song Power Trip is literally like the entire band has turned on God mode. Like, if you listen to that
I
song,
can
you're
see
like,
that.
yeah, every single person has just gone, I'm going to play this instrument at 100% and someone's going to record it. Like, it's just fucking insane, dude. Yeah, it's so satisfying when he screams, fuck your power trip, and it just goes, and it just goes back into it again. Like, it's just, his vocals in this album are just, I can't get over how good Mark's vocals are the whole way through. Down Again is a great single and shows that the band could write a catchy chorus along with really heavy guitars, you know, as the backdrop like the rest of the album has, but it's slightly different because it is a little bit more melodic. And I put Pure Hatred is exactly how it sounds. It literally sounds like he hates the microphone while he's screaming into it. And when he screams, I hate everyone, it's just great. So from top to bottom, if you're a fan of metal especially, and you haven't heard Impossibility of Reason by Chimera, you really need to listen to this album because it is a fucking great metal album. Although not my favorite Chimera album. I think it's a 9 out of 10 album, but I think that the first album, Pass Out of Existence, I like a little bit more. It's similar.
Okay.
It's a little bit different. It's a little more, I don't know how to put this, a little more experimental, not quite as just sort of metal. They tend to experiment a little bit more on Pass Out of Existence, but I prefer that album. But I would stick on Chimera and Possibility of Reason anytime. I just say, yeah, you want to put the album on? Go for it. Love every single song.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I loved it at the time. I saw them on this tour as well. I saw them at Download a couple of years after, and I saw them support In Flames in 2004 as well at Hammersmith, which was a fucking great gig. So, yeah,
Nice.
I love this album.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, looking down through that, I did know Power Trip, Down Again, maybe Pure Hatred. But thinking back to it, it was one of those bands that I wanted to be into more. Actually, I loved those singles. It's not like I just accepted those singles and thought they were okay. I really did like those, and I wish I could have got into them more at the time.
I wish I could go back in time with you to Download 2006, 5 or 6. On the second stage, it was Chimera, then Sixth, then Devil Driver. I'm pretty sure that was the order. And talk about 3 absolutely insane bands that I love one after the other. Chimera live were really, really good. Like, fucking great. I saw them probably 6 or 7 times, a couple of times at Download. Hopefully they'll come back and do a reunion tour because they seem to do that every, like, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think having them back at Download one year when they get back together would be something to witness, I think.
I think I was there for that. I think I saw Chimera and probably Six. I know I definitely wasn't a Devil Driver fan until I was in uni, so that would have been like 2011, I think.
After.
2010.
I could have guessed that you would have been at that Sixth show.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. We'll
Definitely.
get to them in a little bit.
Oh, we will.
But yeah.
Oh,
But yeah,
I
we'll get to them in a
enjoyed
little bit. But
listening to
yeah.
that album again.
Oh, it's good. Great.
Yeah. Do you know what?
Yeah, but yeah.
I am probably going to try and listen to this Chimera album a few more times because I do like them. It is I kind of went off of the really, really heavy metal with the real heavy screaming, but I don't hate it. I still enjoy it sometimes, and I do want to try and listen to this album some more. I might give the first one a listen as well.
Yeah, I think
Definitely
Past Out of Existence you might like more. It's a little bit more weird in a good way. Like they tend to experiment a little more. Some of the stuff's similar, but I prefer the first album. But like Chimera after this was great, and Resurrection as well was fucking like those first 4 albums are just fantastic all the way through. Then after that I pick from them, and there are a couple of good ones. But yeah, those first 4 are boom. All right.
Interesting story. Interesting story about
Go on.
this one actually. I've said I listen when I'm at work in my van. I think I'd finished an album not long before the end of work. So I put this album on. I got to like the second song, something like that, and I got back to work. And one of my managers was out on the bay, and as I got out, he was like, "What's that racket?" I was like, "Yes, success."
That's what you want to hear, don't it?
Yeah.
From like a normie, you want to hear someone say, "Oh God, that sounds awful," and it's just going to make you like it even more.
Yeah,
when someone normal hates it. A non-metaler.
Yeah.
Did you pick that one or did I pick that one?
I picked that one.
Okay, I will pick now. Let's go in a completely different direction. Let's talk about Blink-182, Blink-182.
Okay.
Did you listen?
I did.
And what did you think?
I don't really like this album. I did. I know. I did like the.
I'm really surprised by that. Actually, I thought that you would say that you would love. I thought you were going to love this album.
Yeah. No. I like the singles from it. Not quite as much because they changed their sound a little bit, didn't they? Or some people might think it was a lot, but listening to some of the songs, they did have their old sound in a little bit in some of the songs, but yeah. it just changed a little bit too much for me. I didn't really like the change that they made, I think.
Okay. Well, I've got a little bit about that in my notes, so you hit the nail right on the head about that, because it is not vastly different, but it's quite different to Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. So you've got a different tone entirely. Shall I run through my notes quickly and then we can discuss?
Yeah, go for it.
So this is exactly what you were saying. So I've put a much more serious tone to this album than their previous work. Feels like a band wanting to grow up both musically and lyrically.
Yeah.
It's kind of taking a step away because, they were like probably in their 30s by this point. They were probably like, we can't sing about skating and trying to get girls anymore because we're all married with kids. And I've put the album starts with Feeling This, which is a link to the last few albums. I think that's the most Blink-like song, early Blink-like song. So it kind of feels like it's joining up with the other albums.
Yeah.
But then once that song is done, the whole tone of the album changes from there out. The album really starts, I think, with Obvious, which is the second track, and then continues into Miss You, which is a great, dark, emotional song with combination of acoustic guitars and orchestral elements, which was weird to hear on a Blink. It's a great song, but you listen to it in context with all the others and you think, oh, it's got, cellos and stuff on it, which gives it a completely different sound.
Yeah.
Violence is probably my favorite, or if not one of my favorite Blink songs. Such a killer chorus. You can tell from the first 4 songs that they experimented a lot more in this album than they did before. They sort of thought, oh, we've done that before. Let's try, doing a spoken word part or putting in some weird drums or putting in some acoustic guitars instead. Stockholm Syndrome is a killer track with a great riff and chug middle part. The Fallen interlude drum fill, I always loved that fill. So it's one of the interlude bits, and it's just it's just a voice saying down, 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 and then Travis Barker doing all of these like drum fills. But there's one drum fill where he goes all across the toms, everywhere up and down. It's so sick. I always love that bit.
Yeah.
Always is obviously another great song, full of emotion. That track always strikes a nerve with me. I always feel quite emotional or melancholy when that song comes on. Like, it makes me genuinely feel something when Always comes on. I fucking love that song. It's no accident that Robert Smith from The Cure features on the track All of This, because you can tell there is a heavy Cure influence running all the way throughout this album. If into a Cure album, and you listen to this album, you'll be like, yeah, they were basically just trying to be The Cure for a lot of this album, which I think works. You don't, but I think it's great. But yeah, so all of that combined makes for, personally, my favourite Blink album to date. You know, the new one sounds like it's going to be really good, but I love this album so much. Like, it's great. I love the first two. I love all of them to varying degrees. I love Enter in the State. I love Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. But I feel like this one, them going in a more grown-up direction, I just feel like it works really, really well. And I think that them experimenting with the songs made them a better band than they were before, just doing the same old sort of pop punk stuff. So yeah, I love it. I think this album is fucking fantastic. But
it's a similar thing to Linkin Park that we said. We did Hybrid Theory and Meteor, which were pretty much the same album, and then they changed the sound of the third album, and people wanted that change. I didn't get into Enema of the State, so I only have one album of their previous sound, so maybe I could have done with another one before getting into this one.
That's true, actually. That's a good point. I never thought of that, because Dude Ranch had some good tracks on it. Buddha was terrible, but yeah, by this time I was like, it's time for a change. Yeah. But I'd been a Blink fan since Enema of the State, so that, even though that's not a long time, being a Blink fan, that felt like a long time. So I was quite open to the change coming.
Am I getting it wrong? I thought you only had 3 albums.
No.
I'm sure that's what you said last week. You only had 3 albums.
No.
Oh yeah.
No, Dude Ranch was before it. Buddha,
Cheshire Cat, Dude Ranch.
Cheshire Cat. Forgot about Cheshire Cat.
What was the Mark Tom and Travis show? Oh,
that's a live album.
Live. Okay, yeah. I thought they only had Enema of the State, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, and Blink-182 as albums. I thought that was it. For them.
A lot of people probably think that because they don't push those old albums, because they're not great. Yeah. They're not great. In parts, they're pretty terrible, but some of the songs are good.
What's are these more? Neighborhoods, is that a studio album?
Yeah, that's after.
California, is that a studio album? And 9?
Yep.
Are they all studio albums?
All studio albums, yeah.
I didn't know that. I never
knew.
They've got
loads.
I thought they had like 3 albums.
No, they've done loads.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Good stuff. You learn something new every day. One of the biggest bands on the planet. I now know they have more albums. One thing I was going to say as we were going through that, you said they changed, obviously, with the older men. They can't really be singing about chasing the girl, skateboarding and all that. And that is something I've thought about, and it's not. I don't think it's weird, but with bands like Newfound Glory and Sum 41, I don't know them that well, but I don't think they ever really changed their sound that much. And then I think it might have been Bowling for Soup when I saw them, and they're like graying now. And it's like they're on stage singing their songs they wrote as like teenagers, and I have no problem with that. I'm fine with that. But I did wonder how it feels for them being like older, but still playing songs as if you were a teenager, sort of thing.
It's kind of like any other band, really, but it'd be different. If you're Iron Maiden, they were making songs in their early 20s, but they were about devils and ghouls and all sorts of shit. So it's a bit different. If you're singing about a girl that you fancied when you were 19, and you're still singing the same song about the girl you fancied when you're 19, when you're 50, that probably does feel a little bit weird.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I never had a problem with it. I was fine. They have to do that. They wrote the songs. They probably still absolutely love the songs, the same as the fans do. So, but yeah, I did wonder if it felt a bit odd.
But they probably at the time didn't think they would be singing the same song when they were 50 years old. No. So you're writing it at the time. You're not thinking about when you're 50. You're not thinking, I'm going to sing this song in 30 years and I'll look at these lyrics completely different. You're just releasing it at the time. So yeah. Yeah, I've always thought that about pop punk. I mean, that's probably why I'm not that much of a fan of pop punk, because I feel like I can't relate to it anymore. Yeah. Which is why it's not one of the genres that I enjoy that much, apart from some of the classic stuff that I listened to at the time. But why do I want to listen to a song about teenagers fingering each other when I'm, do you know what I mean, in my 30s? Like, that doesn't, that's just not, that doesn't tailor to me, which I can see why young people like it, because I'm sure if I was 20 years old, I mean, I'm only 25, but, you know, if I was 20, I would probably love it because it would speak to me. But it spoke to the, 20-year-old Simon, but it doesn't speak to the Simon now. So, that's kind of why I've never got on with pop punk these days.
I get that. And I think, I just remember the song, I can't remember who it was, but I Wish High School Never Ends. Was that Bowling for Soup? It's like 40 years old singing, "You're hoping that high school never ends."
Yeah, but I think they've played up to that now, which I like about Bowling for Soup, because they've got that song, haven't they? What is it? What is it? We're all getting old and everybody's doing it, or something like that. Something about them growing old or something, something like that. But they play up to it now because they know that they're old and they're singing songs from 20 years ago. So if you play up to it, it's fine. But like this, I think this is why this was a good choice for Blink to grow up a little bit and, sing some songs about them now and not songs about what they were doing when they were 20 years old. So I think that's why I like this album so much. It was nice to see a band grow up before your eyes.
Yeah. No, I get that. Like I said, I never thought it was, I never had a problem with it. I never thought those stupid old men singing about high school. But yeah, it was cool. Should we move on to something else?
Yeah, pick one for me, bro.
Next, I think we should talk about Casually Dressed and Deep in Conversation by Funeral for a Friend. What an album.
Fantastic. And apps. Brilliant.
Again, I don't have any notes for this. Honestly, I would have needed like another month to listen to all of these albums. But I'll get the album up. I'll get the track listing up. I mean, it's so good, start to finish as well. There aren't many songs that I sort of dislike a little bit.
No, I think all the way through, this is a 10 out of 10 album. I think their first two albums are 10 out of 10 albums. I think once they got to the third one, Tales Don't Tell Themselves, I thought they started, I didn't like that one actively, but Hours and Casually Dressed, I thought were absolutely phenomenal. This album is what a way to start your career. Like this, this album is the reason why they're still playing shows, playing this album in full up to this day. Because people still relate to and absolutely love this album.
What would you say they are? They're Screamo, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're Screamo?
Screamo / emo / British rock, I would say. All of that kind of mixed in. Well, I mean, we'll do Hell is for Heroes album after this, because I think there's a lot of similarities between those two albums. So we'll do that after. But let's talk about this one first. But I think that at this point, the British emo bands or Screamo bands were absolutely killing it.
Okay.
Like, fucking killing it. I thought just in the British scene at that time, things were going really, really well.
That's interesting, because I don't really know many other sort of Screamo or emo bands from this time. So I was about to say, I think they were probably one of the first to do this kind of thing, and there aren't many bands even slightly like Funeral for a Friend. As far as I'm aware, there might be some, but like listening back to it, and I was thinking, like, I don't understand how they were so big, because their sound is quite different to what you would expect to be popular. I can't put my finger on why. You might be able to.
I just think that this album, it was perfect timing. I think that we'll talk about nu metal soon, because we'll get to the nu metal albums. But I think as nu metal was fading out, the teenage angst was looking for something, but that didn't have the outright sort of angriness and hate that nu metal did. Okay. And I think that emo and Screamo was the perfect outlet for that generation. So I think that this was sort of a natural thing. Right. And it came out just as that had ended. And I think it was perfect timing. And, lyrically and musically, it's fucking fantastic. It's just a wowzer of an album. But I think I just think they're really, really well written. I think if this album came out now, it would do well. Yeah,
I think it would. But yeah, I mean, just some of the stuff. They released loads of songs from this album as well, right, as singles. Yeah. But even the ones that aren't singles, the last one, Novella, I absolutely love Novella.
Beautiful song.
I don't know what else to say. It's just an absolutely amazing album. I really like all the songs on it.
Yeah, it's just great. Like Rookie of the Year is such a good intro, like track. It just comes straight in, no messing around. You're into it. His vocals are fucking fantastic. The guitars are great with like the drummer doing all the little sort of screamo parts.
Yeah.
Bullet Theory is super heavy. Like it's a super, super heavy track. Video was great for that as well. I loved it. But I thought that was really cool. And then obviously the singles they released were just great. They had really catchy choruses with heavy parts and screaming, which I think that people just listened to and thought that's a really good combination. But they feel seamless on this album. Other bands had trouble going between those parts. I just think they're really, really well-written songs. That I don't know how long they took them to. I know that a couple of them were on the EP they released before this album came out, because I got that downstairs. I don't know how I got hold of that at the time, but I already knew Funeral for a Friend before this album came out.
Yeah, wasn't that 7 Ways to Scream Your Name, and before that was 4 Ways to Scream Your Name?
Yeah.
Happy that I remembered that.
You're good. So yeah, I was blown away. On re-listen of this, I was just like, it's just like putting on a really comfortable pair of shoes that just are the best. You're just like, I'm just back in it, and it's just such a fantastic album all the way through. Yeah, absolutely love it. It's timeless, I think.
Yeah. I don't really know what to say apart from it's all really good, but yeah, I'm still shocked and still a bit surprised why they were so big compared to some other bands. But
yeah, they did get huge.
Yeah,
I don't know if they ever broke America, so maybe it just feels like they were huge here because they were, and they got a lot of play on Kerrang and stuff. They got a lot of attention in magazines, and they were big. They ended up supporting like friggin' Iron Maiden that year, which is an absolutely insane feat for a band that had only released one. I saw Maiden this year, and then fucking Funeral for a Friend supporting. Like, what the hell?
I did. Where did we go for that? I think it must have been London somewhere. Might have been, I remember the same gig.
I think they really got on as bands, and I think Bruce Dickinson really liked them. But I remember all the Maiden fans were like, what on earth is this? I remember them sort of standing there being very confused at why this small British screamo band was playing before Maiden.
Yeah.
But I thought it was, at the time I loved it. Now I would think that's a fucking really weird choice to have Funeral for a Friend supporting Iron Maiden, but they were huge at the time, so I can see why.
They were. I want to keep talking about Funeral for a Friend, but I don't know what else to say. I know I've said that a few times now.
I think that's all we need to say, really, about that album, that it's just fucking brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. I should probably listen to more of their albums. That's only the one that I've listened to. That was my choice.
On the back of that, let's talk about another unappreciated great screamo band. That is Hell is for Heroes, The Neon Handshake. I was really excited for you to listen to this because I thought, I know him actually likes Funeral, and although it's not the same band, it's in the same vein, I would say, as Funeral for a Friend, that sort of emo British rock. Did you listen, and what did you think?
I did listen, and I did really enjoy it. I really liked it. I can't pick out too many specific things about what I liked about it. It was, but I think the screaming was quite unique, wasn't it? I can't pick it out now. It was a week or so ago that I last listened to it.
It's kind of like he's kind of got like a shout scream where it's not like full screaming, but it's almost reaching it.
Yeah. And as soon as I heard it, I was like, that's cool. I quite like it. Sometimes when it's a bit different like that, I'll be like, no, I'm not too keen on that. But like, it just grabbed me. I was going to say gripped and grabbed at the same time then. It just grabbed me straight away. And I was like, this is cool. I'm going to listen to more of this. I think we did listen to, was it one of their albums we listened to last year, or was it might have been just a song that we've listened to, or for this?
I think it was just a song that we listened to.
Yeah, and I quite enjoyed that as well, and I was surprised. So yeah, like you said, I remember hearing of the band, but I don't really know anybody who liked them that much. So yeah, definitely underappreciated.
Yeah, I mean, I would put them in probably my top 10 unappreciated British bands in general. I think all their albums are fucking fantastic. They've got like a big set of fans that absolutely love them, but they never quite hit the heights that other bands hit, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Should I go through my notes for this?
Yeah, go for it.
And we can talk about them. So I've got a mix of post-hardcore and British emo. This album does really well at conveying anguish and hope, kind of like Funeral for a Friend. It's got a lot of feeling involved in it. The entire album is a mix of huge riffs, and Justin's shout vocals hit the right nerve, and obviously they did with you as well. Out of Sight, kick straight in with no messing around. I always felt like they had more of a Deftones influence than Funeral did, although if sometimes you listen to some Funeral riffs, you think that could be a Deftones riff quite easily. Night Vision evokes a lot of emotion in me. It kind of makes me want to break everything around me while crying, like being really emo. Like, you know, it makes me want to trash everything while singing the words to Night Vision because it's so good. Other killer songs like Three of Clubs, which is a great song. And then songs that make you want to really headbang because the riffs are fat, like I Can Climb Mountains and She Drove Me to It. It's a top-notch British band, and they should have been huge. They unfortunately they went under the radar, not in Britain, but just overall. I think they didn't get the coverage that bands like Funeral for a Friend got, and I think that if they did, I think they probably could have been as big as they were. So it's a bit of a shame, but I do think that if you like Funeral for a Friend or any sort of British or any screamo or anything like that, I think that Neon Handshake is definitely worth a listen. Like, it's fucking really good from start to finish.
Yeah.
I really just love this album. I've listened to it. I probably listened to it like 3 months ago all the way through. So I listen to this album regularly. So I already knew how much that I liked it. But I'm really glad that you did, because I thought that this was one of the, along with the Blink one, which you didn't like, I thought this would be one of the ones that you would enjoy. So I was glad when you said that you liked it.
Yeah. Was it Hell is for Heroes that made like a comeback recently? Was it like maybe at Slam Dunk or something? I know it was a huge band.
Yeah, they done a reunion, and they played like loads of shows.
Yeah.
And they played Trees this year as well.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Trees, not Slam Dunk.
Yeah, which was great. I think they did play Slam Dunk maybe a couple of years ago, but they've started for the first time since like 2009. They've started putting out new songs, which is fucking great for a Hell is for Heroes fan. And they were bloody brilliant at Trees. Like, they're really good live. Really, really good live.
Yeah.
I recommend anyone seeing them. They're fucking crazy. So yeah, just love this band. I love them. So I'd recommend this album to anyone, really.
Yeah, and me too. I think I'll probably listen to a bit more of their stuff as well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Wicked. Glad about that. Right, Adam.
I picked
Neon Handshake, so you can crack on, mate. Which one do you want to talk about?
I think we should talk about Sixth next.
We're going on the British vibes now. We're talking about all the British bands. Yeah. Okay.
Well, the thing is, I got into Funeral for a Friend. There was a couple of good friends of mine I was hanging out with all the time, and they were the ones who got into the music and sort of fed it to me. And they were into Funeral for a Friend and Sixth at the same time, and it's like completely kind of different stuff.
Yeah.
And I obviously got into both of those bands through them as well. And I think we definitely saw Sixth down in Exeter, and Funeral for a Friend were playing quite a bit down there as well. And they were going to see them all the time. I didn't get a chance to go down to sort of Exeter or Plymouth to watch the gigs as much as they did. But yeah, they saw loads of bands down there. I think they probably saw Funeral for a Friend 3 or 4 times, and Sixth. But anyway, I'm gone off on one. Sixth, what an absolutely amazing album. The trees are dead and dried out. Wait for something wild.
That's a great title, isn't it? It's a great. When I refer to people, I just say the trees are dead, and people know what album I'm talking about.
Yeah,
because I can't be bothered to say the whole thing. But if I said to you the trees are dead, you'd, as a Sixth fan, you'd know exactly what album I was talking about.
I would say the Yeti is waiting.
I love it.
The Yeti is waiting to take
but yeah, do you have any notes?
Not notes. I didn't write anything down, but I know this album like Sixth album, first album. I don't know. I was going to say like the back of my hand, but I'd said it wrong. Yeah, I love this album. I've listened to it absolutely loads and loads of times. I'm going to get a track listened up though first, just to give myself a reminder. But the first three, hang on, no, I didn't think I had written notes, but I don't need them. The first 3 songs, Scent of the Obscene, Pussyfoot and Hold My Finger. I mean, what a great 3 songs to open with.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I think as soon as the album starts, it kicks in and you're like, oh, I think at the time I remember thinking I didn't like prog stuff that much. Like, not because I wasn't into it, because I hadn't listened to any of it.
Yeah.
And as soon as I heard the first track, I was like, is he playing slap bass? And why are the drums doing that? And then some dislocated tappy guitar riff came in, and I was like, I mentally and physically don't fucking understand what is happening right now. And then after that album had finished, I remember thinking, okay, I've just experienced something, and I'm not quite sure how to get my words out to talk about it. At the time, I remember thinking, wow, that was fucking nuts. I used to play when I worked in Computer Exchange in 2004. And 2005, I worked in the shop. This album was on in the shop all the time because of me.
Yeah, awesome.
It was one of our, we had loads of CDs, me and Dan who worked there, and this was one of the ones that was just constantly in the CD changer. Like, if you came into Watford CEX 2004, 2005, I'm pretty sure you would have heard some Sixth at some point, and I would have been down behind the counter at that point.
Awesome. I think I was a step or two behind you. I think it didn't occur to me that they were actually playing instruments to make these sounds. It wasn't until I saw them live I was like, yeah, that's a good point. How the fuck do they make it sound like that with a guitar? It just never really crossed my mind. I never really thought about it.
This is like a band that's turned on prog god mode for every album. They've just gone, okay, I'm going to be the best at this instrument, and I'm going to play it obscenely mental, and you're going to have to be forced to listen to it. But it's a fucking great experience.
Yeah. Do you know what? I haven't seen them since 2014 either, since a Download. I need to see them again, because they're still playing.
Did you not watch them in 2017 at Download?
Maybe I didn't. I don't know. I don't think I did.
You definitely played.
I must have gone to see somebody else instead.
It was 17 or 18. I think it was 17. They definitely played, because they released Future in Whose Eyes, and then they played loads of stuff off that.
Yeah, do you know what?
They did play. I'll be surprised if you didn't watch them.
Was that the main stage? Did you say that? Were they on the main stage?
Yeah. And no one was there. No one was there.
I don't think I saw them. I don't think I was there that year. But yeah, no, it's been long. I need to see them. But yeah, I mean, they're still playing. They played, was it Tech Fest this year or Arc Tangent, something like that? One of them.
Arc Tangent, and I was gutted.
Yeah,
I was like, oh,
headlining it.
Oh,
Like,
they had Sixth and Devin Townsend, and I was like, this is like a prog metal dream.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God, please. But I didn't go in the end.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But here's a quick fun fact. In Search of Sun have more monthly listeners on Spotify than Sixth do. This is ridiculous. Anyway, about 100 odd, but I noticed that earlier and I thought, well, In Search of Sun should be massive then, right?
Yeah. It's a new band still constantly releasing and touring, and Sixth don't necessarily do that anymore. So you've got to do that to keep those numbers up. If any band stops, their numbers will drop off dramatically.
Yeah. True.
Unless they're, fucking Linkin Park or something. So.
But yeah, going back to the track listings, like Skies of Millennium Night, I didn't think I liked it that much. Well, not liked it. I thought it was
one of my favourites.
Yeah, going from looking at it, I didn't think it was as good as the first three. And then I listened to it and I was like, do you know what? This was actually a really good song, wasn't it? Then it goes into Emerson. Emerson into Peep Show is just beautiful to me.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Always would listen to that, because there was two Emerson tracks, part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And it's just a keyboard. Or, no, piano, I believe. It sounds more like piano, actually, not a keyboard.
They use a lot of synths, though, which I like, because they don't need to add that stuff into their music.
No.
But I always feel like this band are really good at, even though you've got two guitars doing crazy shit, you've got fucking slap bass, you've got drums doing some sort of syncopatic fucking offbeat shit, and then they just throw in a synth or a random sample. And I think it's wild that there's so much stuff going on.
Yeah.
They're still putting more into it. And it never feels messy.
Yeah.
Because everything is just so tight. And what you were saying about Emerson and the songs like that on the album, and I think that their emotional stuff's even better on the Future in Whose Eyes.
Okay.
I think they're really good at conveying emotional moments as well as the sort of really heavy prog metal stuff.
Yeah.
Their balance as a band is just so good at balancing everything out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Peep Show is my favourite song from the album.
It's a great song. Really great song.
Yeah. I never thought I'd see it live because it's only Justin that sings it. Mikey's not in it at all. I'm pretty sure I've seen it. Maybe they did it at Download in 2014.
Yeah, they've definitely played it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was so happy, because leading up to when I was seeing them, I thought I'd been hearing, they never play it live. But yeah, my favourite song on the album. And Wait for Something Wild. I don't remember that one too much.
Good.
Yeah. Then it goes to the Tupelo. That's a
Talk about
weird song.
Talk about a change of direction. But I like that, though. I like that they do weird voices. You know, the monkey was waiting in the tree and all that sort of... This is what I mean. They're not afraid to just... We're going to do weird spoken parts.
Yeah.
We're going to do weird songs with fucking bongos and chanting.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do a prog metal track with tapping at the end. Like, this band can... They're so talented. They can... Everything they do ends up sounding really good. They can make a pop album, and I bet you any money it would be fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Because they're just so... They understand music just so well. And they're all such talented musicians. And the way that the singers bounce off of each other, it'll be scream, 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 lyric, part of a lyric, other person sings the other bit of the lyric, they sing 2 lyrics together, then another one sings like 3 lyrics, then another one comes in. Like the syncopation between the two is just unstoppable. Like vocally, it, you know, we talked about the music a lot, but lyrically it's fucking fantastic. For a singer, I think you should listen to this album. And just as if you're a muso, you should listen to this album because it's something to. And any of their albums, they're all something to behold. They're so, the level of musicianship is so high on these albums, it's almost unbeatable. And I remember everyone liking them at the time. Like, I remember this famous picture of Rob from Machine Head wearing a Sixth t-shirt.
Oh, really?
And yeah, like he'd play live and he'd just be wearing a Sixth t-shirt. Like, I think the musos, all the people in the bands at the time, just fucking loved Sixth because they were so different. They went on tour with Machine Head actually this year.
Did they?
So we'll talk about the Machine Head album. But
did they?
Yeah, Through Ashes of Empires album had Sixth as the support.
Right. I thought you meant this year. I didn't know.
No, sorry. This year, 2003, that we're talking about. Yeah. They had them support them. Through that tour.
I didn't see that. I didn't go to it.
No, I didn't either. But Leader did.
Did he?
Yeah.
Nice.
And a couple of other people I know went, and they were like, "Fuck me, that Sixth band are just nuts."
Yeah.
Like. Mad.
But yeah, Tupelo is a weird, it's like 7-8 minute long song. It's weird, like you said, it's just like chanting and there's not much going on. Well, there's a lot going on, but also not much.
Yeah, it's subtle.
Yeah, and I did write down I would never skip it. After writing that down, I think I did start skipping it after a while. But after a long time, I listened to it. I listened to the album loads of other times before I started skipping it. And it just dragged on a little bit too long after a while, but it was still amazing. Like, it's part of the album. It's part of what they did.
It works.
Yeah,
it works within it. Considering it's so vastly different to the rest of the songs, weirdly it works in that part of the album.
Yeah,
like you're like, this feels so different, but it also feels like it belongs in this exact spot. This is so weird. In Bournemouth, I'm bringing my Bluetooth speaker in the hotel. We're going to blast that song.
Okay. Sounds good.
For everyone in the hotel to hear the weird shit.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, we never told people about that. They'll probably be quite confused. We're going to Bournemouth together. Did we say that? We didn't say
that. No, we are going to the In Search of Sun gig next week, Sunday, in Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Me and Adam are having a little trip. So if there's any Bournemouth people on here, come to the In Search of Sun gig. If not, we'll be out in Bournemouth on Saturday night.
Yeah.
Come holler.
Yeah. I was gutted to find out there are no board game cafes. I have searched. Simon plays some board games. Never mind.
It's all good.
We'd have to play Simon Says in the hotel room. Damn it. I wish I'd waited a couple seconds more for you to be drinking.
I had it in my mouth. I was going to spit it out. I didn't.
Okay. Anyway, back to this. Where do we get to? Yeah. Count Me Your Dream. Count Me Your Dream, I think, is another one I'm not too familiar with unless I'm listening to it. But I remember the end bit. It does. I listened to it and it reminded me of your Crisp thing, because you said you were taking it from like using influenced by Family Guy jokes where they go on just for a little bit too long, and you want to do
too
the Crisp
long,
thing.
yeah.
And at the end of this, they're going, "Can't we all dream? Can't we all dream?" For just that little bit too long, and it's like,
yeah, I know, it's great. I love it. It's brilliant.
Yeah. Then Emerson Part 2, another piano piece. From here, I know How May I Help You, and If You Weren't So Perfect. I haven't really got much to say about them.
Still good songs.
No, How May I Help You? Oh, that was incredible. That's with Miranda. Yeah. If you weren't so perfect. With they're on a ship. No, the cabin boy. And he's trying to sleep with Miranda, and then the guy's like, Miranda's your girl, my girl, everybody's girl.
His girl, yeah.
Which one's that?
That's great.
Is that How May I Help You? No.
No, that's If You Weren't So Perfect.
If You Weren't So Perfect. Yeah, such a good song.
Yeah, it's great.
I was listening to How May I Help You as well, thinking, if I knew the lyrics to this, would it be as good a song? Like, with How May I Help You, I think I just looked at the lyrics, or it's easier to work out. And as you're going through, it's like, yes, it's such a good song. You know what's coming up next because you've learnt the lyrics. But with some of the other songs, I haven't learnt the lyrics, so you can't really go along with it in your head. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like a story.
Yeah, but still, they're all great songs.
It's great.
Such the Fall was amazing.
Shall I run through my notes?
Okay, and we'll talk about When Will the Forest Speak after, if you want.
No, do that now quickly. Then.
Okay. I played When Will the Forest Speak to Soren a little while ago, and he thought it was weird. He didn't.
It is super weird.
Yeah, so it's just a spoken poem. I can't remember how long it was. Let's find out. Oh, it was only 3.
The monkey was waiting in a tree.
Yeah, only 3.5 minutes long.
Crazy.
Again, that one feels longer, but yeah, it's just random stuff. Just a spoken poem. But I'm sure at one point I knew every single word to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love those sort of, when the mermaid slurs and the deep, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. They're just doing this like really weird fucking voice. It's just so cool. I like that. It's again, like, it's so different to anyone else that you heard at the time.
Yeah.
Kind of just my mind exploded after listening to this album. I remember being like, what on earth is happening?
Yeah.
Wait, there's prog metal, there's weird bongos being played with chanting. Now they're speaking in weird voice poems. What the fuck is going on? It's great. I'll run through it.
Yeah,
so I've just written,
it.
this is a top class British prog metal album. It's insane how musically, how refined this is for a first album. It's nuts. Scent of the Obscene is a great starter because it has all of the sort of parts that are coming up in the rest of the album. So it sort of tells you who the band are and what they're all about, what's in store for the rest of the album. Skies a Millennium Night, the changes in that song, the time changes, the dislocated riffs, everything's insane. Melodic parts throughout the whole album are beautiful. That tapping part with the at the end of Skies a Millennium Night is fucking epic.
Yeah.
Like, everyone is just tapping with the drums, just doing this like little tiny little beat. Just, it's so good. And then they, you think it can't get any bigger, and then they're still tapping that same bit for fucking ages, and then they bring in that synth part, and then that really long stretched out vocal. You're like, this just literally can't get any more epic. Like, there's no way you can take this song any further. But I think that's the same for the rest of the album. Like, overall, it's just it's a piece of art, I would say, musically. So if you're a muso, guitar player, bassist, drummer, singer, anything, I think that you really need to listen to this album, because I think that it might make you better at your chosen instrument just by listening to this and sort of taking it and absorbing it into your sort of, whatever music you play. But yeah, if you like prog and you haven't heard this, you're insane.
Yeah.
Although I will say, it's not my favourite Sixth album.
Isn't it?
It's actually the one I go to the least.
Okay.
I listen to Death of a Dead Day more than this.
Yeah.
Because I like that album more. Although I still, I love this. This is a 10 out of 10. I think all of their albums are 10 out of 10 albums.
Yeah.
But I think Future in Whose Eyes is their best album.
You've said that before. I've tried listening to it and I couldn't get into it. But I think it must have just been losing concentration. Because they are a hard band to get into.
I can understand. I mean, I just want it to blow people's minds. I want, if you listen to this, someone just to listen to it, and just, even if you don't listen to it after, I just want you to listen to it to experience this album. Yeah. Because it is an experience.
What, this
or any other albums.
When you just said about
this album. But I think that the most palatable and the best, I think, is Future in Whose Eyes. I think that is the best one. I think that they've come on. I also think the production is much better. The production of this album is really good, but I think that Future in Whose Eyes, obviously with all the modern technology, just really tight, great, boomy sound.
Yeah.
But yeah, we could talk about this album for another 20 minutes. So let's move on and stop telling people how much we like Sixth.
that was my choice. What do you want to go for next?
Okay, let's talk about, because we mentioned Machine Head, let's talk about Machine Head 2003's Through Ashes of Empires. Adam, did you listen?
Yeah.
And what did you think?
It's such a great album. I think probably one of the only albums of Machine Head that I've really listened to. I know it's obviously The Burning Red. I had Hell Alive, which had a lot of their sort of greatest songs. Yeah.
Good. It's a good album, that is. Good live album.
But before this, I'd never listened to The Burning Red or any of their other albums. But I had it on repeat all the time. I think I've said before, I was playing the PS2 a lot. So back college days, I didn't have much money. I know I was playing, what was it called? I don't know, I can't remember at the time when I said it recently either, but like this album and Stone Sour's album, first album, just reminds me of that game. And it, like I said, it was on repeat all the time. But there was one interesting thing I noticed. So I thought with this album, it kind of dies off in the middle, and then you get Descend to Shades of Night at the end, and then that sort of, because it's so different, such a different song. I think I would always lose concentration through the middle, and then that would kick in and go, oh yeah, remember this album's on, because it's so different. It would sort of catch my attention,
reignite it,
to remind me to put it on again, to start from the beginning. But listening to it again, I knew all of the songs apart from one. It was interesting, very interesting, and I don't know if you've got anything similar with it. Seasons Wither, it was called.
Yes.
And I listened to this yesterday. I was sat down writing notes about this yesterday, and I put Seasons Wither. So I was going through trying to work out which songs it was that sort of I lost my concentration for, and it was just this one song. I put it on, and I would have sworn to you I'd never heard this song before in my life.
That's insane.
It's just weird, right? Because
your brain just switched off to one song and then just switched back on again.
Yeah. Oh, maybe it was a few songs each time, but it was always on this song. Sometimes it would be a few songs beforehand, a few songs after, maybe. Because I did know the other ones around it, but not as well as the earlier ones, if that makes sense. It's such a strange thing, I know.
That is weird, really weird, actually. What did you think on re-listening to it?
I did think there was nothing wrong with it. It was an okay song. I was wondering if the album just goes so hard by being so good for the first half of the album. It's absolutely amazing. My brain needed to take a rest or something.
It's your rest song.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I swear to you, I would, if you had put that onto me randomly and gone, do you like this Machine Head song? I wouldn't have known it. I would have said, no, I've never heard this song in my life.
You've been like, what album's this off
of? I don't understand.
That's weird. That is weird. I like that, though. That's cool.
Yeah. But what else have I got here? It is incredible start to finish, including that. Because I think, I look back, the song before that one is Vim. And I listened to it and I was like, yeah, I know this song. It's actually a really good song.
Yeah, it is a really good song.
Oh, yeah. The fact that it finishes with Descend the Shades of Night, that's the perfect place for it, because you need to wind down because it goes so hard, I think. If you had that in the middle like Tupelo was, it wouldn't have. And I reckon that would have been an amazing song to listen to live, because it just builds and builds and builds. It starts off slow, builds and builds and builds. I don't think I've heard it live before. I don't know whether they play it live. But
I never have.
Fucking great album, though. I absolutely love this album.
Really good. Really, really good. Should I run through my notes quickly?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've put coming after I've written these reviews like I'm fighting for fucking Kerrang or something. If you're listening, Kerrang, I will write for you if you want. I'm good at it. Coming after the very divisive Supercharger album, where they went for a more new metal direction, they get back to their more metal sound on this album. So kicks off with Imperium, which is, was it that or Davidian that you didn't hear live,
Davidian.
but they'd already played?
Well,
it was Davidian, okay. Because I've got here in brackets, ask Adam if this was the song that he didn't hear live.
Must be a Machine Head thing that I just don't hear their songs.
When they're going to play Davidian? Oh, they already have. Oh, right. That is the best. Do you want to retell that story quickly, just if there's any new listeners that haven't heard?
Yeah,
that?
I want to tell a different. So I did a similar thing recently at a local gig as well. So it was one of the early downloads. It must have been 2004, 2005, I think. We were quite close to the front. We were in between two pits for Machine Head, and I was there thinking, I know it all. I knew more than the people I was with about music generally. And yeah, Machine Head finished, and I was like, that can't be the end of it. They must be coming back out because they haven't played Davidian yet. But they had already played Davidian. I just didn't. I just think I just didn't know the song that well. So like, I probably did hear it. Well, no, I did. I would have heard it. I was just like,
yeah, you definitely would have heard it.
I just didn't know it well enough. But I was that cocky. Maybe I just thought I knew better than everybody else, and I had something to say. I had to say something to show that I was better musically. But yeah, similar thing happened at a local gig, a band called Hacksaw. Been seeing them since about 20 years, probably since about 2003 as well. They're from Bath. They haven't really changed their set in that time. They play the same set. They're just a 2-piece, really jokey, like messing around band. And they were playing at a local gig, and I must have missed their first couple of songs. I was out in the beer garden. I came in quite drunk. They got halfway through their set, and it was like, "What do you want to hear next?" And I said, "Oh, beer and whiskey, egg and chips." And they just sort of looked at me and went, sort of thing. And I was like, "What did I say wrong?" But I reckon they must have already played it before I came in, so they just kind of ignored me.
This is why Adam should always have the track listing for the gigs that he goes to.
Yeah.
So he knows what's coming and when, so he doesn't miss any tracks.
Yeah. But again,
I love that. I always think of that now. Whenever I think of Machine Head, I always think of that. I associate Machine Head now. I associate them with being an amazing band, but I also associate them with you not hearing their songs live.
Well, yeah, the thing is, it was probably one of their biggest songs at the time. Probably is still one of the biggest songs. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know the song, but I was pretending to be all cool and like, I know what's going on. Did the same thing when when Bowling for Soup had 2 great big blow up sheep on the stage, and I was there. I guess it could be Lamb of God next, probably. You imagine my surprise when it was Bowling for Soup. I wasn't that surprised, but I was like, "Oh yeah, how did I get it so wrong?" Shit.
Yeah, Bowling for Soup come out. This next song's called Redneck. Oh right.
No, I wasn't really that arrogant. I don't think I was arrogant, but I don't know. I maybe just felt like I knew the most in the room at all times about music. But I obviously never did. No, maybe never did. But
no, it's,
I tried too hard sometimes.
Yeah, it's fine. I love that. It gets me every time. That's why I put in brackets. Was it Imperium? But no, it was Davidian. That was
Davidian,
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Imperium's great. Probably one of the best Machine Head songs. That middle 8 riff is when the song just stops and that middle 8 comes in, and then the double time drums come in. Every time I was cooking downstairs last week and I had that album on, and when that came on I had to stop Vicky, go into the front room with Vicky, and then rock out to that middle 8 because it's just too fucking good. Like, it's too insane.
Yeah.
Bite the Bullet is another banger. Yeah. Elegy's great with that slow palm muted riff sort of running through it. Days Turn Blue to Grey, really fucking great emotional song about, like abuse and stuff. It's fucking great if you read the lyrics. I think it's a return to form for Machine Head. I loved Supercharger, but a lot of people didn't like it. I'm on the sort of, it's almost like their St. Anger. You either love it or you hate it if you're a Machine Head fan. I fucking still love Supercharger. I don't care what anyone says about it. I still think it's great. It's got some great songs on it. But I think that generally this is considered when they sort of returned to form, because Burning Red and Supercharger did go in a more sort of new metal-y direction. A lot of people were put off by it, but that's just what was happening at the time. And yeah, from here on out, I genuinely think every single album is fucking really good. Like, they don't miss a step, basically. Well, apart from Catharsis, which was pretty terrible. But yeah, the rest of them were great. But yeah, I think it's a really fucking awesome album, and I'd recommend it if you haven't heard it.
Yeah.
For Ashes of Empires, Machine Head should definitely be listened to.
Definitely, yeah, I agree.
Adam, what is next for us?
There's still quite a lot that we haven't done. Fucking hell,
dude, we're cruising through these, man.
Yeah,
we're cruising through these.
Similar band. I think Spineshank then, Self-Destructive Pattern.
Oh yes,
what an amazing album.
Fuck yes.
Again, I don't have any notes on it. I didn't I don't know what you think of the previous, because a lot of people really like the previous album, The Height of Callousness.
Height of Callousness.
I never really listened to it. This was the first album
Ooh.
I owned. I did know some of the singles from the other one. It was the first album I owned.
Yeah,
And
like New Disease and stuff, yeah.
what's that?
Like New Disease, you would have
Yeah, New
heard.
Disease.
And Smothered.
Yeah.
And a couple of...
Smothered, Synthetic.
I can't remember the other one, yeah. Synthetic,
Yeah.
that's it.
You know, going back to similar to what we said earlier, we were going to play Synthetic in when I was in a band and cover
Nice.
it, but I think the guitarist just couldn't get it. So we ended up covering Shinobi vs. Dragon Ninja.
Yep. Yeah. It's a sick tune.
Amazing. It was so
Sick
fun
tune.
to play live as well. It's similar to what you said earlier, like obviously horrible things that happened, what he did. But after, like, from playing that live, like, it's always going to be something to me.
Yeah.
It's such a fun song to play.
I love those first two Lost Prophets albums. I think they are amazing. It's kind of sad that the rest of the musicians get tainted with that stick and we can't listen to Lost Prophets anymore, obviously. But yeah, it's a shame because that's a big tune. But anyway, we're talking about Spineshank.
Fantastic album, start to finish. But I would say, so maybe it doesn't drop off in the middle, but maybe my concentration dropped off in the middle for this one as well. Maybe that happened a lot. Because I was going to say, it happened a lot for a lot of albums from sort of this era, but it was probably my concentration and not the albums
themselves. Yeah, I don't think this album drops off at any point. I think it's solid all the way through.
Actually, yeah, no, you're wrong. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't drop off for me either. Yeah, Violent Mood Swings starts off amazing. We got Smothered on this one.
Oh,
such an amazing song.
Great single.
Beginning of the End, I love that song. Pretty much all of these, to be honest. I can't. Okay, no, it doesn't drop off. I don't know what I was saying. Must be another album I'm thinking of. Sorry.
It's all right. Shall I run through my notes quickly so we can run through? So I've put one of the last great nu metal albums. The genre was almost dead at this point, so it's very weird that this came out at this time, because if it came out a few years before, it would have been huge, but it was massively overlooked, but we'll get to that in a second. Violent Mood Swings is a great opener. Super proggy, industrial, with just incredible vocals. Slavery might be the heaviest song Spineshank ever made. Like, it's just brutality. When he's screaming, "This is slavery," with the most disgusting downtuned guitars behind him, it's like epic. Yeah, it's got awesome chorus. And breakdown at the end is so good. Smothered is just a fantastic song. Loved it at the time. Still love it just as much now, if not more. The video was fucking awesome as well. Consumed is another banger. Beginning of the End is probably one of the best Spineshank songs. It's great. Banger chorus. The whole album's great. And like I said before, it's a real shame it came out so late, because it was really overlooked. Nu metal had become a dirty word by 2003. So the stigma for the nu metal was attached to these bands. Probably my favourite Spineshank album, or maybe it's a tie between this and Height of Callousness, because they're both fucking great all the way through. But yeah, this is an amazing industrial nu metal album. It's so good. Everything is just top. Production is really good. Like, it still sounds just as poppy and sort of bursts through the speakers just as well as it done then. They really concentrated on good production on this album. I don't have enough good things to say about Spineshank in general, but this album is fucking great. So if you like any type of metal, but if you like industrial especially, or if you're a fan of nu metal but good nu metal, listen to Self-Destruct Pattern Spineshank, because it's fucking awesome.
So I don't like industrial music, but I really like this.
This is an industrial
never
nu metal album, dude.
Put it as that. Maybe I should listen to Static X as well. That's another one I never got around to listening to, so maybe we should do that next, as I brought it up.
We'll
But
go into that.
Yeah.
Because if you liked this, you'd fucking love the Static X album.
Really?
Because it's very similar.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a shame you didn't listen to that one, actually, because I think listening to this and then that would have matched perfectly.
I just kept overlooking it. I looked at it and go, oh, no, I'll listen to that another day. I'll listen to something different. Just never got around to listen to it. Yeah, but Spineshank, this album, Spineshank, fucking incredible.
Really good. Shame it was unappreciated in its time, but it's definitely appreciated now, 100%.
Yeah. I noticed.
Should we talk about...
They brought a single out in 2020, didn't they? And I feel like they brought a few out. There's only one on Spotify. but I think they brought a few singles
that
out.
one done really well, actually.
Yeah.
It done really well. People really liked it. It was really good. So I think their last album was 2012. I think they're going to do another one.
Okay.
At some point. People have been talking about it, so it'd be really good. It'd be really great to see them live.
I don't think I ever saw them live.
Never got to see Spineshank live. I would bite someone's arm off to see Spineshank live, so I think that would be really, really cool.
Awesome.
But yeah, cool. Shall we talk about Static X Shadow Zone, as it's in the same sort of breath as we're in the sort of new metal era? Okay, so again, I've written in my notes exactly the same thing what I said about this album. It's an unappreciated album due to the sudden death of new metal. Although I wouldn't consider Static X a new metal band, because they're very much a industrial metal band like Spineshank. Spineshank and Static X were thrown in. Yeah. You know, they were thrown in with the new metal group, even though they were very different to new metal. They were put in the same, so they were sort of brushed, tainted with the same brush. Not saying tainted. New metal's not a dirty word to me. It got bad, we all know that, but it started off really good. And Static X was one of the ones that started it in 1998. But yeah, anyway, unappreciated its time. In retrospect, it's a really solid Static X album. Although not my favourite Static X album, it still has really fucking great moments on it. Destroy It All is such a good starter. A lot like Violent Mood Swings.
Yeah.
It's just full throttle from the outset, which is why I think, oh man, he's going to listen to this album and really like it. Because it's just destroy all with just industrial metal. It's just like, yes, please.
You're right.
New Pain and Shadow Zone. Yeah, you need to listen to it. New Pain and Shadow Zone are both standout tracks. The Only is by far one of the best singles Static X ever released, and still fucking absolutely kills to this day. It's a great song. That might be one of my favourite Static X songs. It also shows on this album that Wayne was a really good singer and not screamer, because he sings a lot more on this album than he did on the last one, and his singing vocals are fucking awesome. Invincible is a great closer to the album, but I would say that the track Just So, it's unlike a lot of Static X songs where it's not as heavy. It's quite, I wouldn't say commercial, but it's not as heavy as their other stuff. It's not industrial at all. It's kind of just like a really good metal song. His vocals on that are just so good. Like, it is probably one of my favourite Static X songs. And overall, again, a great killer album from the Kings of Evil Disco, as they called themselves. But I fucking love Static X. Like, this isn't my favourite. I think that Start a War, the album after this, is 10 out of 10. This is like an 8 out of 10. And obviously, ones before this were fucking amazing as well. So I love every Static X album. I've been a huge Static X fan since day. Wisconsin Death Trip is unbelievable before this, and Start a War after this is better, I think. But I still think that if you like industrial metal, if you liked that Spineshank album, you should definitely check out Static X Shadow Zone. I think it's well worth a listen, without a doubt.
Okay. Yeah.
And unappreciated in its time, because it was 2003. The Only was a big single, but nu metal was dead on its arse by this time, and they got roped in with that. They got dropped from their label after this. All the nu metal bands got dropped from their labels because no one wanted to put out nu metal albums. So they all had to sort of start from the beginning again, which was a bit disappointing. Yeah, them, Head PE, Spineshank, fucking all of the bands that weren't necessarily nu metal but got tainted with that brush, all dropped off of the big labels like Sony and all of the Interscope and all those ones. They all got dropped.
I didn't know that.
Apart from the huge ones like Korn and Linkin Park and the ones that really made money. But the bands in the middle, they all went off the big labels. Head PE called it the major pain phase of their existence because they hated working with these big... Yeah, because in the beginning of nu metal, everyone got to make what they wanted, which is why nu metal got so big, because it was bands just playing the music they wanted to play. But then it got so commercially successful, they were being told what to play rather than playing what they actually wanted to. So Head PE called it the major pain years of nu metal, because it brought its downfall, unfortunately.
Well, I think, I will probably go and listen to this then. I think everyone knew Black and White at the time. I thought it was a good song, but it wasn't to my taste, really. I didn't like industrial stuff, because Fear Factory were releasing, they had a lot of stuff on, like Kerrang and Scuzz at the time. I said before, that's pretty much how I got to know new music at the time. And yeah, I just knew it wasn't to my taste, so I never looked into them anymore after that. So I will listen to them because I thought I didn't like any industrial music, but you've told me I do. Yes.
No, you've told me that you do.
Well, you've told me that it's industrial. I didn't know it was industrial. Maybe I don't like it anymore. I'll listen to it next time and go, now I see the true you. I don't like you anymore, self-destructive pattern. No, it's an amazing album. And I will listen to this one. I've been deleting.
Awesome.
Trying to see how many albums we got left. I've been deleting the albums. I'm not actually going to delete that one off of here, so I remember to listen to it. So you've just said 2 bands that we have albums for.
Yeah.
Who picked that one? You or me?
We just went on because it was the next one. So you can pick. Well,
we're either going Head PE or Korn because you mentioned both of those.
Whichever one, pick one, dude.
Well, yeah, you're talking a bit at the moment. You can carry on talking because I don't think I listened to Head PEs properly either. I know I had it on. I must have got busy at work and I didn't concentrate on much of the album. I don't think I concentrated on any of the album, to be honest, not even like the first song. So I tried with Head PE, but I have nothing to report on them.
Okay, I'll go into Head PE because I would call myself a massive Head PE fan. Like, I am a huge fan. I've been since the very beginning. So yeah, Head PE Blackout. It's by far not the best Head PE album. They would admit that themselves. Like I said, they were really struggling at this time with what they were writing and what the major labels would put out. They said they were writing songs and they were getting rejected, or the lyrics would be not what they would consider to be sellable lyrics, blah, blah, blah. But I would still say that this has some of the best Head PE tracks on it. But it does also have a lot of tracks that I know that Jared has spoken about now to say that he wasn't happy with at the time and he still doesn't like them now. But starting with songs like Suck It Up, which is a fucking great intro song, absolutely brilliant. Just, you never would have thought that Head PE, obviously being like a rap rock sort of band, would do disgusting guttural vocals. And it has like a bell ringing and then like, ladies and gentlemen, introducing Head PE. And then he just screams in the most death metal guttural voice ever, destroy. And then there's just a drum fill, and then it just goes into like a really sick Head PE riff. And that's really great. Bury Me's really great. Blackout is probably one of their best songs and best singles. It's an absolutely great song. Crazy Life is fucking amazing. Half the Man is like a brilliant sort of slow track. Other Side is great. And Fallen is great. I do think that it has some standout tracks. I wouldn't personally recommend someone to go listen to this for their first Head PE album. I would recommend another one. But I still think that if I played you just those tracks, you'd be like, oh yeah, fucking hell, they're awesome, really good. But then if you listen to some of the others, you'd be like, they're not that great, which I totally understand being a Head PE fan, because this sits middle/bottom out of Head PE albums for me. I know it was commercially successful, like the last album was. It sold a lot. But they weren't happy with it and they dropped from the label, and then they made completely different stuff on the new album, on the album after that, only in America. But yeah, I still think it's worth a listen for the singles. I think Suck It Up, Crazy Life, and Blackout are definitely worth a listen to get a feel for Head PE, and then maybe go check out some of the other albums. But I still enjoy it. It was still nice to listen to. I remember in 2003 going to Camden to buy this album the day it came out because I was so excited to buy it. So it still brings back really, really good memories. And the Blackout song and video are well worth watching on YouTube because the video's sick and the song is sick as well.
I think I've seen Blackout.
Yeah, but yeah.
I've seen the video for that.
Yeah, it was a big song. If you heard it, you'd probably be like, yeah, I know this song.
Yeah.
It was a really, really big single. But yeah, like they said, they call this the major pain phase of their life, because after Broke, they were not allowed to make the stuff that they wanted to make because the label just didn't want to put it out. So they said, fuck you, we'll put this album out and we'll drop from the label and we'll go put out our own shit. And it was much better, to be fair. So yeah, but yeah, still, if you want to listen to some really good new metal, check out Suck It Up, Blackout, and Crazy Life from this album, because they're definitely worth a listen.
Awesome. You haven't said any other bands in that, so is it to Korn next?
We can go to Korn next.
You're doing the Google whack where you don't find a lead, so you go back one and go to the other direction.
Okay, go for it. You start with this one then. So this is Korn's 2003 album, Take a Look in the Mirror album. Adam, did you listen?
Yes, I did listen. Again, this one was only today I listened to it, similar to Meteora. I knew it very well, so I didn't feel the need. I didn't sort of check it out that early. But I love this album. I don't know how big it was at the time because it came from. It was Issues before this, wasn't it? Or was there another one?
Yeah.
No, was it Issues? Then
no, this was Untouchables. Untouchables was before this.
It was. I've had this conversation with other people because I always forget what albums they brought out because it was Issues. Was it Issues? Then Follow the Leader. Then Untouchables.
No, Follow the Leader. Follow the
Issues.
Leader. Issues. Untouchables. Then
Jesus.
This. Sorry, I know Korn too well. I'm a nerd.
But still, I mean, at the time, knowing all of those albums first, like you do expect them to sort of either lower in your opinion or change a little bit, and it to not be your taste because they're not what you know. And so I surprised myself at the time by really liking this album. I think Untouchables was an amazing album, and it was only a year later they released Take a Look in the Mirror, and again, like I said, I was surprised that I liked it still. Oh no, I was surprised that it was as good as it was because they hadn't dropped off, in my opinion. But yeah, so many good songs on this one and on Untouchables, and like to be only like a year apart as well. I think it's starting with Right Now. That's got a few sort of bits that reminded me of Issues, and I really wanted to go back and listen to Issues again after listening to that one.
Issues is really good, although no one seems to like that as much as other albums, but I think Issues
was the first album I got into them with. So, yeah, I was really surprised to like this one as much as I did at the time. It was a bit weird. You're One a Single. I was never a big fan of that. What do you think of that one?
Oh, I love that song. Well, you got to wait to see what I say about the album. I think this might be the first one we disagree on.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll say my bit about it. I'm on the other side of the fence when it comes to this album. I think this and Untouchables are my least favourite Korn albums.
Are they?
Yeah, I told you last time I've never been a fan of Untouchables. I was disappointed with it at the time, and I was really disappointed with this album at the time, and still am on re-listen. There's a few really high moments. Right Now is awesome. Did My Time is the best song on the album without a doubt. It's the real high point of this album, I think. It's just a fantastic Korn song, one of my favourites without a doubt. Play Me featuring Nas is sick as well. I love his rapping over the Korn music. I think it works really well. His voice fits perfectly. And I think Y'all Want a Single is great as well. The rest of the album, I really don't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it at the time, and I don't enjoy it now. This album, still to this day, doesn't do anything for me. I think it's really lackluster.
Lackluster.
Lackluster. I think it's really lackluster. I think that I didn't like this phase of Korn. I didn't like Untouchables that much. Although, again, really good singles and some standout moments, but I thought the rest of the songs I didn't really like. And the same with this album. I thought that See You on the Other Side, the album after this, is vastly superior to both of those albums. And Issues, before those two albums, is vastly superior as well, in my view. But I've never been a fan of Take a Look in the Mirror by Korn. I am a massive Korn fan, but this is... I would listen to Untouchables over this. This is probably the Korn album I would go to last out of all of their albums to listen to, personally. I don't think it's a bad album by any stretch of the means. I don't think Korn make bad songs necessarily, but nothing on here grabs me and makes me think that's really good. I mean, it's standard good Korn stuff, but it doesn't... I don't feel anything from these songs apart from the standout tracks, like I said. But I've never been a fan of this album.
That's interesting, yeah.
To this day, still not. Listened to it today in the car, and I was like, no, still don't enjoy this album all these years later.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and this is probably the first time since the time that I've listened to it all the way through. Which is weird because I had a lot of friends that played it constantly, that loved it all the way through. And my friend Lewis just constantly had this song on in his car. But yeah, it just didn't connect with me. Not a bad album. I just don't enjoy this album, unfortunately, which is rare for Korn albums. But yeah, those two just never been my go-tos. The last things I would stick on when it comes to Korn, definitely. There's albums I would put on in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But those I'd be like, oh, really? Okay, I'll play it.
Awesome. Well, we've got a few albums left to talk about. Do you want to pick one?
Yes, I will pick Killing Joke, because I'll be interested to see what you thought of this album. So 2003's Killing Joke, self-titled Killing Joke. Did you listen and what did you think?
Well, I listened to both songs on this album and I didn't like either of them. So
Both songs? You didn't go any further than that?
No, I didn't. I didn't at all.
Okay, that's fine. Did you get a vibe overall? What did you think?
It was a while ago. It was not what I was expecting, and I can't remember why. I didn't write any notes down for it. Was it a similar kind of like sound type of negative, like slow? Am I right in thinking that?
Not
No,
at all.
what was it?
It's all fast paced.
I need to check. I struggled to find it to start with because it was one of those stupid ones that had a re-release.
Yeah,
so
it doesn't say 2003 on fucking Spotify. It pissed me off.
No,
it said it came out in like 2017 or something.
Yeah.
But it didn't. It came out in 2003.
Yeah. Well, it's called Killing Joke.
We've talked about that before. I hate
Yeah.
when bands do that. And they re-release an album but they put it as the year that they re-released it rather than the original year. So you're like, oh,
yeah,
they released this album in 2017. No, they didn't. They released it in 2003. So it should fucking say 2003. Really annoying.
Yeah, I was looking.
You can put re-release. That's fine. Put re-release, but at least put it as the year that it came out.
Wasn't a fan of it at all.
No.
What did you think?
Well, I fucking love Killing Joke. So, I'll read what I got in my notes here. So I wrote, this album is non-stop industrial British rock. With Dave Grohl on drums on this album, and it really shows because it's relentless start to finish, just fucking pumping riffs, ridiculous vocals. It's just insane. It begins with Death and Resurrection Show, dirty riff that runs all the way through, starts off the album in like a furious way. Jazz Coleman's vocals for the whole album are fucking outstanding. He does everything from shouting, screaming, weird voices, and amazing singing. Total Invasion has lots of weird vocals with a pulsating chorus. Asteroid, Implant, and Loose Cannon show off everything that the band has to offer. They are insane. Crazy riffs, great vocals, and amazing songwriting. You'll Never Get to Me shows a different gear for the band, being more of an emotional driven track. But it's a fantastic song again with a fucking great chorus. Overall, a tour de force for any fan of British bands. And if you're a muso, you should love every second of this album because it's fucking relentless. And Dave Grohl's drumming is just insane. If you're a drummer, you need to listen to this album. It's amazing. And I know this was Dave Grohl was a huge fan of Killing Joke, and when he got asked to do this, apparently he was absolutely thrilled and jumped at the chance to be on a Killing Joke album. I think it was one of his things that he wanted to just tick off in his life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I fucking love this band, but this album is just fantastic. I think I've listened to it. Well, I mean, I've listened to it a lot in the past, but I think I listened to it 3 times this week. It's on the way home yesterday, on the way home today, day before last, I listened to it all the way through, and then last week I listened to it all the way through as well because I was just like, this fucking album's just great. So yeah. I'm actually surprised that you didn't enjoy it because I think you'll find this quite interesting.
Yeah. I think it was one of the first albums I put on, knowing that it was going to be it was like a daunting 2 weeks ahead of me trying to listen to 22 albums.
Don't say that. You're just listening to cool music, man.
22
What's
albums in 14
that?
days. Yeah, are you
going to hit your target for the year? You said you wanted to listen to how many new albums?
Oh yeah, I have no idea. I don't remember.
Didn't you say 50? You said 50 or 25 or something. You said I want to listen to 25 or 50 albums that I've never heard this year, and you listened to a lot in the last, for the last episode and this one.
Yeah.
So I think by the time we get to the next episode, you might actually reach your target.
I might do. I completely forgot about that.
I remember you saying it. You were like, I'm gonna, you're like, I'm not afraid of listening to stuff that I've never listened to now, so I'm gonna listen to loads of new music and get into loads of like new bands and discover albums that you never have. So you are doing that because you have enjoyed a lot of these albums that you haven't heard before.
I have, but I have to go back and find out what I said, or somebody, if somebody in the Discord will let me know if you remember. I know.
It was either just before our build up to download, or at the beginning of the year, you said, because we were listening to lots of new stuff when we were talking about new releases, and you were like, I'm gonna set myself a target of listening to, I can't remember what you said, it was 25 or 30 or 50, one of those, and you were like, excuse me, I'm gonna listen to like those albums. So I listened to that many new albums within a year. But I think you're going to reach that.
I probably am,
year,
yeah. I remember it now that you've brought it up. But
if anyone can tell us what that is, just tell us in the Discord. If not, we will find it somewhere and find out how many albums Adam has listened to.
Awesome.
And how many he's got to go.
Yeah. None of them will be Killing Joke. Oh, dear.
Okay, so the next album on the list is Deftones, self-titled 2003 Deftones. Quite a change from White Pony, the album before. This one has more of a sort of dreamy vibe, less upfront guitars, and vocals were more sort of dream-esque, but still groovy and heavy in places. Hexagram is just... I can understand why he tore his vocal cords, because the screaming on Hexagram literally sounds like he is ripping every single shred of what's left of his vocal cords. It's fucking disgusting. It's a great start with really weird time lyric delivery and absolutely throat-splitting screaming. The snare sound on Needles and Pins when that drum beat kicks in is just like, well, that's the perfect drum fucking sound. We've got that down, no problem. Minerva is great, really dreamy, weird track. A strange single at the time for them to release, considering they released loads of heavy stuff from White Pony, and then they bring out this really weird, dreamy song, Minerva. So it was a strange one at the time, but I still love that track. This Deftones album sits in the middle for me. It's not my favourite Deftones album, but it is interesting because it's sort of like their take on a more dreamy version of Deftones. I still really like it now. And it's one of those albums that I will just stick on in the background and listen to. Not my favourite. I don't think it's the best. But if you're a Deftones fan, especially, and you haven't heard it, I think it's worth a listen. It's a really interesting phase. Although Saturday Night Wrist, the album after this, I think is vastly superior. Still takes the dreamy elements, but adds in more heavy stuff. It's more palatable, I'd say. But probably the weirdest Deftones album, this one. But worth a listen if you're interested in the dreamier side of Deftones.
Yeah, I didn't like Minerva. But yeah, we just had a private chat backstage about this. And I remember it. I remember seeing it now on the list you sent me. I just didn't convert it to my list. I didn't write it down when I wrote my own list. Because I was being lazy, I was just taking screenshots of albums. Simon sent a really nice list of about 12 to 14 albums. And I was going through just screenshotting, and I said, I know typing these out is an infinitely better way of doing it, but I'm being lazy. So I made sure I typed a full list out with all the screenshots as well. But I missed this one off, and it wasn't deliberate.
That's cool. That's all right. So let's talk Bleeding Through. Yep. This is love. This is murderous. Did you listen, and what did you think?
I did listen, and I absolutely loved them. I don't think I got fully through the album, but I know I heard of them a lot of the time. I knew they were around quite a bit at the time. I don't think I ever really got into any of their singles, but like straight away from this album, I absolutely loved it, and I was like, why have I not got into them before?
Yeah, I thought you might like this album because I know you like your heavy shit.
Yeah,
and I was thinking I consider this to be like a quintessential metalcore album, like something that you sort of, if you like heavy music, you kind of just have to check out a little bit of this album. So I was thinking, he's going to like this. So I'm really glad that you actually thought, yeah, this is good. Because I was like, oh, this is so good. When I was listening to it in the gym. I was in the gym. I was doing weights. And I was like, oh, this fucking album's making me want to fucking throw these weights into like, motherfucker. I was like doing extra reps because Bleeding Through was giving me the power to fucking do it.
Yeah, you're right. With me and heavy stuff, there was a time, probably back at this sort of time, I was into much heavier stuff than I am now. But I do still like heavy stuff, just don't listen to it very often. So yeah, I don't know why I never really got into Bleeding Through at the time. But yeah, I really enjoyed this album. Are they still going, do you know?
Yeah,
they are.
100%.
Oh, excellent. I should probably check some of their newer stuff out.
Their last album was 2018, Love Will Kill All. Fucking unbelievable album.
Yeah.
All their albums have been fantastic, but the last one was a real fucking high point. It was really great. Yeah, they're still playing gigs and doing everything at the moment, so I think they are going to make a new album at some point.
Yeah.
But they're still going. But like this album, I was obsessed with around this time. Every time they came over from 2003 to like 2008, I saw them every time.
Really?
And they came over about 9 times within that. I saw them at the Underworld in London like 3 times. Saw them just saw them support as many people. I watched them, and do you know who they had supporting them?
No, I can't
Bring
even
Me
guess.
the Fucking Horizon supported Bleeding Through.
Really?
Yeah, in like 2005, I think it was.
Yeah.
The Astoria 2, maybe. Yeah, with Bring Me as support, which was the first time I ever saw Bring Me, and I was like, what the fuck is this? This is crazy. When they were like real fucking tech, fucking metal, pure screaming. It was great. But yeah, like this album is just flawless. Again, it's metalcore, but everyone is playing at 100% God mode. Love Lost in a Hail of Gunfire with that Willem Dafoe intro. There was a firefight, and then that fucking drum pattern just kicks in, and then it just goes off. The whole album just fucking kills from there. Number 7 with a Bullet is a fucking amazingly brutal song. On Wings of Lead with like a really nice singy chorus, which they didn't do that much, which was a nice little change of pace. This Is Love, This Is Murderous, brutal. City of the Condemned, absolutely disgusting. And to end the album with Revenge I Seek. The lyrics on this album, when you listen to the songs, you need to read the lyrics, because lyrically, it's fucking brutal. Like, you know, the album cover is a knife through a heart with blood everywhere. That is literally all you need to know about this album. This is love. This is murderous. It says it all. Yeah. But I would say if you're a fan of metal, it's metalcore-y, but it's kind of more metal than metalcore-y, but it is a metalcore album, I would say. If you're a fan of metal in general, I think you should definitely give this album a try, because I think it's really worth a listen. And this band are still killing it up to this point right now. Yeah. So I'll be interested to see what they do next. But yeah, I highly recommend This Is Love, This Is Murderous. I think it's fucking amazing. And live, they are incredible. I should know because I've seen them too many times to count, but they are literally, the reason I kept going back to see them was because they were so fucking good live. Like, the energy is off the scale with this band. It's fucking amazing. Yeah. But yeah, I love this album.
Awesome. No, I surprised myself recently. I've seen people asking for a band called Paleface for Bloodstock, and I was delivering to one of the shops I delivered to, and I saw a guy with a hoodie working there with a Paleface on his hoodie. And I was like, do you know what? I'm going to check them out then. And they're quite heavy. I didn't listen to too much. I didn't listen to a whole album. I couldn't do one of these episodes on it. But there's a song called The Orphan, which it just reminds me of an old school Slipknot song, and it's absolutely incredible. Nice. Really good. So yeah, check out. Well, I think they're on Spotify as Paleface Swiss. I could be wrong. I could have got completely the wrong band, but yeah, you should check out that, definitely.
Okay, yeah, hell's yeah, well. Sounds good.
Awesome. We've only got a couple of albums left. First, I think we're going to 3 Days Grace, aren't we?
We are indeed, yeah.
Yeah. With the album
3 Days.
3 Days Grace.
Yeah, the self-titled Beginnings. Did you listen? And what did you think?
I did.
Sam?
I listened to this one a couple of times. I couldn't pick out any specific bits from any of the tracks, but the main thing I took away from it was it reminded me of a band called Finger 11 that I really, really liked. Around this time, and it wasn't just like one or two songs, it was like pretty much the whole album. If you like Finger 11, you'll like this, or if you like this, you'll like Finger 11. I think the album is what the fuck was the album called? I don't know, from around the same time, and they did a few albums. But yeah, can you tell us more?
Yes. I mean, just a fantastic start overall. I mean, just like you, the second song on the album, we used to cover that in my old band. Yeah. Like, I was like, let's play a 3 Days Grace song. And then I just learned, just like you, I was playing guitar at this point. And we played that on guitar. It's really, really fun to play. Quite easy, but really, really good as well. But yeah, Just Like You is an absolute banger. I Hate Everything About You, which is obviously a song that a lot of people know. It was a huge single at the time and really like put them on the map. Home, which I think is the best song on the album by far. Just an absolute banger. I saw them play this live a couple of years ago. so fucking good still. This band are great. Let You Down is a great song. Drown, Wake Up, it's just a wicked album all the way through. Although I will say, again, they've been so consistent with their albums throughout the years, apart from the new one, which I wasn't that keen on. It's not my favourite 3 Days Grace album, although I will stick it on at any moment because it's so good. But yeah, this band, they're one of my favourite bands of all time. I'd if I named my top 10 bands that I loved every single thing about, and the bands that I think that I love the most songs of, I'd probably have 3 Days Grace in, top 10 rock and metal bands. They would be in there. Like, this band are unbelievable at songwriting. And I don't even think this is their best album. And it's still really, really good. So I'm really glad that you liked it.
Yeah. What you just reminded me of something then with I Hate Everything About You. That was obviously, like you said, a massive single of theirs. And I did know that song already. But I think it's one of my least favourite songs on this album. It's a little bit different to most of it. And I think the rest of the album is
not my favourite
better
3 Days Grace song,
than that, even though that is a good song.
It's just because it was catchy, and I think it hit home at the right time. That's why that song was so big. I mean, it's had 648 million plays on Spotify.
Yeah.
So all of their songs, 648, 469, 298, 272, they're all in the hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
This band are huge. They have 9 million monthly listeners. Like, I don't think anyone, they're not that big in the UK, but across the world, 3 Days Grace are a huge fucking band that people absolutely love. And they're one of my favourites. So yeah, I would recommend this album. I think if you're starting off with 3 Days Grace, I'd probably recommend 1X as your starting point. But I still think if you listen to this album, it's a really good, solid album all the way through. But yeah, fucking love this band.
Yeah.
Love them so much.
Me too. Well, I think before the last band, we should do the honourable mentions, because I want to put a drum roll in and see if people can guess what the last album we're going to talk about is. But we've got some massive albums still in honourable mentions. So the ones that we decided we weren't going to do a big talk about, some of them, like I said, are massive. We've talked about them before, like Iron Maiden's Dance of Death. We gave our probably 2 cents when we did the Iron Maiden episode. So yeah, here's a few of them. You got Iron Maiden Dance of Death with 2003. Evanescence, Fallen. I'm pretty sure we talked about that before as well, haven't we?
I think that's a 10 out of 10 album, by the way.
Yeah.
I think that album is just mind-blowingly good. I will stick that album on over and over again. I fucking love it.
Yeah. Cold, Year of the Spider, a band that we both said that we really liked. I don't really know many other people who really know of them. But they're still quite big in America. They're still touring all the time over there. I've just found it. Finger 11, also self-titled album, Finger 11, 2003. Amazing album. So if you like 3 Days Grace, 3 Days Grace, listen to Finger 11, Finger 11. The Darkness, Permission to Land was this year as well.
Another 10 out of 10 for me. Flawless.
Listened to it.
It was our party album
Was it?
for about 2 years, from 2003 2005.
Yeah.
If we had a party, that album was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. That album's flawless.
Awesome. I think I've said before, I wasn't keen on them at the time, but when I did listen to them, I think for the podcast, not too long ago, I was like, I kind of get why this was popular now. I kind of get it. I'm not part of the haters anymore. Not that I ever hated them, but I wasn't a fan. The last honourable mention we've got is Story of the Year, Page Avenue. I believe it's their first album. I'm not actually sure now. But I think I've said it as well before, that was massive over here. I don't know about in America. And as far as I'm aware, it's still their most popular album by a lot of people. So that's why they never really took off as much as I think they should have.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know. I could be wrong. I just an opinion. But there might be some things that I have completely missed. But yeah, that is our honourable mentions, unless you have any more.
No, that's it from me.
Awesome. So yeah, we've just got one album left to talk about. I'm gonna put a drum roll in here. If you want, you can maybe pause it. Maybe write down a few bands that you think it could be, because you will have heard of this album. I forgot how big they were. So, drum roll. You will have heard of this album, which is AFI. Is this Song the Sorrow? Have I got that wrong?
AFI, Sing the Sorrow.
Okay. Well, it's late. AFI, Sing the Sorrow. I forgot how good this album was. Well, no, I remembered how that it was a good album, but listening to it again, I was like just blown away by it again. Like, why were AFI not massive? They should have been like really, really big.
Yeah. Still a big band, but they should have been
Yeah.
huge. Absolutely huge. It's a real shame that they weren't massive.
But although saying that, they did have a lot of albums, didn't they? I don't really know.
Yeah, they had a lot of albums before this as well. This wasn't their first album, so
I don't know. They're not. Oh, they are still going. I did not know they were still going as well.
yeah, of course. Yeah, their last album was absolutely
Was it?
incredible.
Bodies, yeah.
Bodies 2021. It was amazing. Really great album. They've been very consistent, I think.
Yes. Well, they probably because of people like me then who just stopped caring about them.
Yeah. And people like me that continued, we continued the AFI.
The December Underground. I think I heard that one. But yeah, to me, AFI are a bit like The Used for me. I wouldn't have really known much about The Used if it wasn't for Kelly. I mean, there's probably a lot of bands that were around that sort of time who carried on going, but just never made enough, I want to say, ripples in the water to make enough people notice them still. But they carried on and are still really good.
Definitely. AFI being very, very consistent. So yeah, what did you think of the album overall then?
Oh, amazing. Every song is amazing. Really, really good.
It is a fucking great album.
Yeah.
And not even my favourite AFI album. We'll get to that.
Isn't it? Okay.
No, it's fucking outstanding, but yeah.
But again, I'm going to say I can't pick out the songs from looking at the word, from the song title and go, oh yeah, that song has that really cool bit in the middle with the bridge. Or I can't do that. Yeah, the Leaving Song, Silver and Cold, Girls Not Grey. So many good songs from it. I think I will enjoy.
Yeah, I'll recommend an album
stuff.
for you at the end of this bit. So I've put here, they have a great goth punk style, and Davey Havoc has a very distinctive voice. You know it's AFI straight away by his vocals. Obviously heavily influenced by the Misfits, which is why I love them so much. It's very Misfits-y, just taking that punk edge out and put more of a goth sort of style to it. Yeah, the Leaving Song Part 2 is fucking amazing. Silver and Cold, love that slow start, then it explodes in the chorus. Girls Not Grey, with a Misfit style gang vocals, just amazing single. Death of Seasons, which has screaming, an industrial dance part, and an amazing punk chorus. Like, you wouldn't think that those things would work together, but that's just how good AFI are. That song just fucking works so well. Celluloid Dream, another great track. Yeah, I love this album overall. I think it's a fucking 9-10 out of 10 album. But probably my second favourite AFI album behind The Art of Drowning, which was the album before this. So I love Sing the Sorrow, but I think Art of Drowning is my favourite, and then Sing the Sorrow. So I don't know what people would prefer out of those two. But I think consistently they've been very, very good across all the albums. Like I said, even their last album, Bodies, was really, really good. So yeah, just consistently, I think they've been a brilliant band. And I think that this album is well worth listening to. It's very easy on the ears, yet very creative in parts. And it's just fucking great. Just a great album.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, looking at these albums now, I remember them. One of the guys, not the Dream Theater guy, the other guy that I said about that was in 2-6 and Funeral for a Friend earlier, he was a huge AFI fan. He had all of the albums before. So yeah, I remember when the singles came out from this one, and I'd never heard of them before. He had all the albums previously, and it was the same with In Flames, because when they were big at this point, it was it wasn't Come Clarity. But yeah, In Flames had loads and loads of albums previously to that as well, didn't they? And he had all of them. And I was
awesome.
Just blown away by like how he'd been a fan for this whole time when they were just sort of breaking through to like the mainstream of rock people, I guess. Yeah, if that's a weird way to say it, maybe. But yeah, I forgot how long AFI had been going, and I didn't know they were still going.
Yeah, going for ages, man. 95 was the first album. That's how long they've been going.
Yeah, just looking now. The Art of Drowning. I'm gonna listen to that. I don't think, looking at the song titles, the track names here, I don't think there's anything I've heard from
Art of Drowning is the one for me. It's think if you like this, you'll fucking love Art of Drowning. It's great.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we should probably... Hang on, I heard a voice. What's this? I know I've seen December Underground.
It was a big
before.
album. When they released Miss Murder, that was huge, and Love Like Winter was a huge single as well. There were 2 massive singles off that.
Yeah.
So yeah, December Underground was a big album. So you definitely would have heard stuff on Kerrang or whatever at that point.
Right, well, yeah, I'm going to check out that. We should probably go now because this is going to be a long episode again. But it's been very cool. Hopefully, I don't have too many albums to listen to.
I've loved looking back on these albums and looking back on this year, and yeah, honestly, 2003 was a really solid year for albums. It really was. Like, we've had so much to talk about, but in retrospect, a really great year for music. Alternative music, definitely. Yeah, so,
in between recording the last episode and this one, I obviously had the list of what we were going to do. I saw Dylan, it's Dylan Rangley, isn't it? Dill from Dillcam, put a post up about albums from 2013. So I had a quick look because I don't know many of them. But obviously that was a massive year for a lot of people as well. I think definitely. Architects brought an album out that year. Sempiternal was that year. So I'm looking forward to the next episode as well. But there'll be a lot more
good albums from 2013, mate. You're going to be thrilled. That's another really good year.
Yeah. So there'll be a lot more albums that I'll be listening to for the first time. Yes, we've got to wrap this episode up. Thank you for listening. We've been really enjoyed doing this one. If you want to reach out to us, you can do. You can contact us on any of the social medias, email, all that sort of stuff. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear any feedback, corrections, any questions you have. If you look in the episode description, you might have to click see more to see more of the description. Our Patreon can also be found in the episode description. If you want to support us, then you can do. We've got 2 tiers, a £3 tier and a £5 tier. Like I said, they are just support tiers at the moment. We are still working on getting awesome stuff for you, but it's taking a lot longer than we would have liked. But if you join the £3 tier, we'll say a massive heartfelt thank you to you on the next episode. If you join the £5 tier, then we will say a massive heartfelt thank you at the end of every episode. We don't have any new Patreons this episode, but we do have to say thank you to the absolute legends: James Harrison, Alexander Toon, Dan Jacobs Cross, Dean Delicado, George Butler, Christopher Hambridge, Henry Richardson, Scott Seager, and Ben, my mate Ben, really good friend of mine. Such a good friend, I don't have to say his surname, just Ben. Thank you, Ben. Really appreciate it. So, I'm sorry, Ben. I know I said I would look and find out where you told me how to pronounce your surname. I couldn't find it. Can you tell me again? Thank you, Ben. But all of you, every one of you, absolute legends. We really appreciate you. Thank you very much. Simon, do you want to talk a little bit about your YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube's going well, as always. Thank you very much for everyone for subscribing. If you haven't, please go and do that. The video should be out by this, but I'm actually doing a video with Mr. Chidzvidz himself. So
nice.
We're doing a video about horror movies, and we're going to talk about our favourite horror movies and everything Halloween surrounding horror. So that will be my next video out. We're going to have a little Discord chat, and that should be out on YouTube now. So go and check that out.
Awesome. Well, it's been a long one this episode. We're going to have to say goodbye. We've got to go now. It's a goodbye from Simon.
Goodbye.
And a goodbye from me. Goodbye.